I'd like to show you something.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm
You have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky?
Good evening, folks. It is the 83rd episode of the Toxicity of Tuesdays, and the very first one we've ever done of Quentin Tarantino, and one that was his first directorial. So how are you all doing? There's a lot of you here already. I love to see it. I love to see it. How are you? Pinochet's Helicopter Tours, Mr. Zen in 1993, my guy Vince Womack, Union of Amateur Strategists, Yek Nomino, Pat Ass, Pull Baby 74, Darth Viewer. Hello, hello, Deleted Scenes. How are you doing? E.W. Glick. Hello, hello. Yes, I can feel it tonight too. Believe that. Office Girl. Hello. E. Clay Tomasin. Hello, hello, Tina Bojan. What's up? How are you all doing? Thank you for being here early and right away for the show tonight. I'm stoked about this one. I'm really, really stoked about this one. I watched this movie twice in the last 48 hours and 3, maybe 4 times in the last week and a half, because obviously we had a bye week unexpectedly. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's bring in the boys here. You know what? We're bringing the one guy who's been away here the longest, and he's in the back door, and we're going to bring him to the front. How's it going, Gerry?
Oh, it's going pretty good, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Glad to be
Nice-
here. Yeah.
Nice to see you. Okay.
Yeah. Toxic masculinity is bad. Okay.
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 Yes. It's good
So-
to see you again, Gerry.
It's fun to come in on this movie because I wanted to actually be here for the last Stallone one, but I couldn't get free. But man, I'm so glad to be here. And you know, it's like you said, this is his first movie where he got to direct it, man.
It's a big deal because it was something that definitely led him on a trajectory for his career later on. So yes, no, we will talk about that and more and other good things about this wonderful flip. But until then, Gerry, it's good to have you again, sir.
Yay!
And I know you were in the back door for so long, so now we brought you up to the front. And, you know, that had to have been a long time for you to have that ball in your mouth.
Look, I have no gag reflex. That's all I got to say.
Well, I know you don't, but I'm glad we got that thing out and it's popped out of your mouth, and now you get to be with the boys. And this panel is a whole loaded with a bunch of dudes, and one of them is Mr. Pink. How's
Is that
it going,
the Mr. Pink in the stink? What is that?
Hey, what are you doing later, Gary, with that no gag reflex? I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah, asking for a friend.
Yeah. I'm excited about this fucking movie, guys. I just watched it. I finished watching it like just an hour ago again. Had to
Again, right?
refresh.
Again, it's
Had to
totally worth
refresh.
just watching again and again and again. Is it not? Just saying.
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay. Okay. But it's good to see you, Mr. Pink. I know you go by another name that's in white, but right now you're Mr. Pink.
Happy to be
so
Well, all you
and
crazy
I'm
fucks.
happier that you're here. It makes sense. It's one of those things. It's just like I like that he's here, and it's a great expectation of life. So good to have you here, though. Let's bring in our other dudes because we got so many wonderful dudes waiting in back who are just aching, along with Vic Vega here. Mr. Blonde has more fun.
Good evening. So, does Gary have one ball in his mouth or two? I couldn't quite figure that out. Was it one or
Depends
two?
on the night.
It depends on the night.
Yeah. Odd days are always,
Yeah.
anything goes.
We're gonna find
So
out
on-
how many are in there tonight.
So unlike unlike Mr. Pink, Gary will give you the tip, but just the tip.
Just the tip.
So it's a great pleasure to be here, mate, to talk about a movie that features my third favorite Dutch band, the George Baker Selection. So my third favorite Dutch band. I'll leave other people to figure out what the top two are. But George Baker Selection, Dutch band. No, not many people knew that before this movie.
There were 3 Dutch bands? I didn't know there were that many.
Probably I can think of 4. But
Well, I can name a Dutch dude.
I can name 4.
I'm sure there's some Dutch.
never.
And one of my
Oh,
favorite
there's
Scottish
some great
bands.
ones.
One of my favorite Scottish bands, Steelers Wheel. So there you go.
Oh
Gerry
yeah,
Rafferty.
yeah,
Steelers
we all
Wheel.
know about that one. Yes.
So great
yes.
stuff. Yeah, great to be doing this.
Oh, it is great to be doing. Good to have you, 70s. I'm
Good to
glad
be
you
here.
could be here as Mr. Blonde. We're gonna have a serious talk about your
Mr. Bald.
torture, but we'll get to that. Hey, that's your retribution for the torture, but we'll get to that later. How are you, Mr. Engineer Man who makes all things what they are? Mark D with a C.
Mark
Going very
C
good.
with a D.
Yeah, good to have Gerry back. We missed you,
Big
buddy.
D you got there,
Geary.
buddy.
It's a big day. Yeah. Well, we got it's hockey time, so let's go Rangers. I know 70s is not gonna like that too much, but
Oh, I don't know. That's fine.
Rangers are up
I don't
4.
mind.
That's fine. Yeah, so Rangers are up 4-0. So if you hear me yell
I
in
did
the
pick-
last, well, they're up 4-0, but
Are they playing
it's
the
not-
Isles or the Devils?
they're playing the Devils. Yeah.
Shit, because I had the Devils to win in my bracket, so you better. It's the one and only Rangers win tonight. Then.
Well, they got the dreaded 4-goal lead, but
That's right. The worst lead in hockey.
But I promised myself I would never ever watch this movie again. So
It's
thank you for
$50
making me
is
watch
some
it
money.
again.
Look at it.
Yep. Anyway,
Anyways, let's bring in our other 2 dudes. How are you, Red Shirt?
Besides muted,
No.
I'm good.
Oh, sorry, Mr. White. How are
Yes.
you, Mr. White?
I'm doing really well tonight. Oh, damn, that rhymed.
I appreciate you looking out after me after everything that happened in this hour and 40 minutes. And despite learning my truth at the end of this movie, I was still in your lap to the very end, Mr. White.
Yep.
Good to have you here, Red Shirt.
Glad to be here.
And of course, last but not least, a man who's probably got a lot to say about this. If he doesn't, I'm going to be disappointed. How are you, Tom Connors of 800 Voices?
Are you gonna bark, little doggy, or are you gonna bite? What'd you say to me? I said, are you gonna bark all day, little doggy? Are you gonna bite?
You don't need proof when you have instinct. For a second, I don't know why I always think of Harrison Ford when he said that.
He was the
line.
only one I wasn't sure about. Should have been at a goddamn
I wasn't
line.
I wasn't 100% on him. You're Mr. Pink.
know
No,
what's
Mr.
funny about
Purple's
Lawrence
on another
Tierney?
job somewhere else.
Quentin
Here's what your
Tarantino
name
learned
is.
really quickly how insane Lawrence Tierney can be.
Yeah, in fact, he got arrested in the middle of making the film.
Oh yeah.
And they had to bail his ass out of jail to be there. But like, yeah, no. Funnily enough, considering everybody's name in the movie's a color, the original film was supposed to be shot in black and white.
Yeah, right. That's
on
right.
16 millimeter with a very small budget. But we'll get into all that. This is a favorite of mine. Of course, Tarantino's my favorite director, so I'm sure I'll have plenty to say about it.
Oh, I'm calling on that. Okay. And looks like we got some super chats. We'll get out of the way since right before we get on moving. What's up, Bruce Lombardo of the Dix Division? Says excellent pick for movies. I've yet to see this film, but I'm okay with spoilers. I'm here for the laughs. Oh, trust me, with these dudes here, you're gonna get the laughs. You came, we laughed.
I can't believe Mad's not here. There's not one single female speaking role in this movie.
It's the perfect Mad Martigan movie.
We're gonna have to give him an earful for that one.
Oh yeah, Mad's not gonna hear that. If you're out there, Handy Randy, you better, I don't know, don't ever give him a handy again. That's all I gotta say. And we got the Office Girl for $5.50. Says catering's here. I love sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
Yes, I like.
Can beat him until he's black and blue and until he started the fucking Chicago fire, but that doesn't make it fucking so.
Hey, why am I Mr. Pink? Because you're a faggot, all right? And yes, YouTube, we're just sputtering lines from the movie. Don't get sensitive on us, YouTube AI. I know how you be.
Well, the AI's not gonna understand that line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the AI doesn't understand context.
Well, for all I know, hey, Mr. Brown, for all I know, you're the rat. For all I know, you're the fucking rat.
Now you're making some fucking sense.
It could be.
Eddie, you keep talking like a bitch, I'm gonna slap you like a bitch.
I don't tip. What do you mean you don't tip?
Oh,
I don't tip because society says I have to. I just, that's,
that scene.
I agree with him.
Oh, so
No,
that scene what chased after Mr. Buscemi for a long time. So he said he knew because that scene followed him where he went. He said he made sure he had to tip extra good because he said that scene followed him. And I could see why that would happen. I could see a lot of people, especially this is their first movie. Imagine this is your gateway movie with Buscemi. You're, I don't know, 17, 18. You're a bit on the naive side. You don't always separate real life from fiction. You're still learning in the world. And that's your introduction to Buscemi as Mr. Pink. And that's what he leads with right out the bat. Yeah, you're going to get
it. He says it, but we're all thinking it. We've all wished we had the balls to say, fuck the tip.
Well, I mean,
I
have
the
bad ones for
just
bad
tip.
service, though.
Well,
Oh, I never fail to leave a tip because I don't want the server to think I forgot. And if I've had really bad service, I leave 2 cents so they get my 2 cents.
Exactly what I did.
I'll let them know. Yeah.
I'll even hide it under stuff that they have to look for it.
Yeah. Well, the ultimate on that one. Drop it in a glass of water, put a card over the mouth of the water glass, and set it down, mouth down on the table, and pull the card out.
It would take
me
chat.
I don't recommend these things.
No, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that at home.
It would take me a lot to not have to do that. Even if it's like a very average service, there's still something there. And I don't know if it's a habit of being involved in like pizza delivery on and off throughout the years. Also having, friends who've worked in industries, waiting, hair. That's just, I guess it's just so deeply ingrained in me. Like, I understand the logic of what Mr. Pink is saying. I get it. And I would like there to be a better solution, but I'm not one of those guys to make that type of solution. But I still do it regardless of that. Even if there may be some questionable validity, hard to say. I don't know. But I can imagine this had to have haunted Buscemi. Kind of like the way when someone's a bad guy or they play multiple bad guys. A lot of people think that actor is must be a very terrible person in real life, but they forget that sometimes that's what an actor does. I don't
Well,
think
waitresses
Tom
are just
Cruise-
one of the many groups that the government fucks in the ass on a regular basis. I mean, show me a piece of paper that says the government shouldn't do that. I'll sign it. Put it to a vote. I'll vote for it. But what I won't do is play ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's getting serious dick action.
Oh, well,
What
hey,
the
I
hell
got
is wrong with this
McDonald's big
picture?
dick
Why
on
is
my
it all
left.
squished?
Oh, I gotta let me check my
Even,
settings.
all right.
Something happened here.
But the funny thing is, this is very true to life, because a bunch of guys sitting around a table will start talking about shit like this.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
arguing about it.
Case in
Well,
point.
that's kind of what made Tarantino famous, was he was able to capture what appears to be realistic dialogue, but the more you listen to it, you realize it isn't. Right? It's more like a poetry or stylized dialogue, almost like he actually calls it more like a stand-up routine, basically, or like street poetry or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this scene was one of the few scenes Mr. Blue had to have something to say, because originally they had no dialogue for Mr. Blue in this movie. He was the one guy they didn't have anything for, so they had to like change direction. Luckily, it doesn't take much, but
He's not
luckily
in the movie all that much.
Yeah, he's not all in the movie all much, and even though the director, aka Tarantino, Mr. Brown, isn't all that much, his character had very minimal delivery. I mean, you see him at the beginning mouthing off like a son of a bitch.
Mr. Pink for himself, actually.
Yes, he did. No, you're right. He did it right. He originally did write Pink for himself. That is true.
What I want to know is, why does Steve Buscemi look like a folk singer from the early 1960s? Looks like Pete Seeger with that little beard.
I think
Peter,
that's
Paul,
more
and
of a
Mary.
question for his mother.
That was just the end style at the time for the goatee thing, man.
Yeah. His mother once met
pencil
Pete Seeger.
goatee. Well, actually, it's not so pencily. It's not pencily. Yeah, it's that goatee where it's just that very trimmed look like that. Yeah, you know, you had a mixture of 90s looks with
I love that line.
90s. Oh, here, you know what it is? The world's smallest violin playing for the waitresses. So it's work at McDonald's, but you don't feel the need to tip them, do you?
People
and
at
you know what's
McDonald's
funny?
make more than they do at restaurants. So that's the thing. I mean, at least hourly.
And you know what's funny? Go ahead.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing about jobs that expect tips. I deliver newspapers. I made shit if people didn't tip me.
Yeah,
that was one of my very first jobs. So I have the same thing. I remember what it was like working, and somebody about 10 years after I had quit, I said, "Screw this." One of my parents' neighbors that I used to deliver newspapers to came to a party at the house, and she said, "Oh, I really miss when you delivered our newspaper. You put it in the door every morning by 8 o'clock." I said, "Why did you stop?" I said, "You should have tipped better."
I had a friend who delivered newspapers for Don Imus when we were kids, and he would never pay him. I think because he was too stoned out, probably. So the guy that from Better Off Dead. I want my $2. I want my $2.
All right, where's my $2?
And Imus had 2 huge Doberman pinchers, so he'd be scared shitless when he went over to try to get his $2, and they would never tip. It was like finally, like his dad had to go over and get paid. Yeah, get his pay for his newspaper route. It was hysterical. Yeah.
Well, it needs to be mentioned right away that if it wasn't for Harvey Keitel, this movie wouldn't be what it is now.
Yeah, and I'm impressed by Mr. White's deep knowledge of socio-political statistics, which we just
because he's a sociopath.
He knows, but he knows all the.
Also,
90% of college graduate, whatever, he's got all the.
Well, no, I'm serious. Like that's the thing is he's a sociopath.
Yeah,
and Mr. Blue is a fucking psychopath, right?
Yep, perfect couple.
Yeah, they are, and it's. Because he read the script and he goes, "I want to be in it, but I want to produce it too." So then it went from a little $16,000 black and white picture to $1.5 million budget. And that's
I love they had Stephen Wright doing the voiceover.
Yeah. I got to get some powdered water for tonight.
Yeah,
I don't remember. He's a comedian. It was just a deadpan delivery. Yep.
I still
Powdered
don't know
water.
what to mix with that.
Yeah.
Well, you can put that dihydrogen monoxide stuff in it. That
Yeah, but
works.
they ban that. It's very dangerous.
It's
You can't
dangerous.
Yes, it is.
Dihydrogen monoxide is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's causing
nearly-
global
Oh, the late
flooding.
Sally
It's-
Menke.
Causes flooding.
It's nearly a universal solvent.
That's right.
They went around with people in the street like sign this petition banning that
Dihydrogen monoxide.
Everyone signed it to ban it. Yeah,
They had a website and people were signing up on there, and they were just so stupid. They just didn't. I'm so against this. Now we know
sounds
why
horrible.
people.
Tell me you never took chemistry without telling me you never took chemistry.
Yeah. Why are we all crammed at the top of the screen here? We're all crammed up at the top of the screen. There's a big empty space at the bottom.
Well, that's for all the quotes to come up. Yep.
I don't
Right.
understand why it looks all like fudged. It's really weird. It's like crumb.
Well, because I tried to what was
Smudged.
happening was some of the slides were all coming out different sizes, so I tried to resize it. So it didn't work, but I don't know.
You've
if it-
ruined Tarantino's opus.
It's going to take a lot to get that blood off. You're never going to get the blood off those seats very easily. I mean, that's terrible.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Well,
wait,
that is-
ask the wolf, man. That's not easy to do.
It's ruined,
That
Brian.
is-
Ruined.
Ruined.
I remember saying that, I'm like, yeah, that is a lot of freaking blood off a shot.
Oh,
Thinking,
yeah.
man, how bad did he get shot when I see it?
Well,
But
what's-
that seems so. He's like,
What's funny is he's
like,
drenched
"You're
in
gonna
so
be
much fake
okay."
blood, and he was laying there on the ground that he
Yeah.
had to get peeled up many a time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, because he was
Yeah,
stuck to the
gross.
fucking ground.
Clinton was willing to negotiate with Tim, say, hey, we could just get like a puppet or something, but Tim was very insistent that he lay there and play, I guess you could say not dead. Tim was very insistent on going all the way there and not, having a puppet replacement, which I thought that was awesome, because to be in that position like that and be patient, you have to have long days sitting down
yeah.
in that position. That's gotta be annoying. I imagine that floor too is not all that comfy too. The fact that yes, that stuff did get attached to that surface is
I
hilarious.
believe Gary spends a lot of his working career lying on his back.
It's true.
Oh,
It's
well, it's
thought
his
it was
belly.
lying on
He's
his
backdoor Gary. Remember?
Backdoor Geary.
You've never heard of lifting your legs up.
Oh, I did not
It's a
want
lot
to
of
picture
work.
that.
You went there though, Tom.
You made me.
Maybe Buscemi just didn't have.
That's a good
relationship
question.
with
He had a
Tarantino
cameo in
that
Pulp
others did.
Fiction. He had the
Mhm.
cameo in Pulp Fiction, and he just hadn't showed up since. I mean, he's
Too
Yeah,
busy
he's
working for the Coen
very
brothers.
busy with doing other things, but like
Boardwalk
he
Empire
was
and
one
all
of the
that.
few Tarantino members of this cast that never really came back into any major role. Well, Sean
Yeah.
Penn too, but sadly we lost him. a couple years
Oh
ago.
no, we haven't lost Sean. Unfortunately,
Brother,
Not
yeah.
Sean.
Chris-
Chris.
we lost
I
the
meant,
good
sorry.
Ben.
Hey,
I know,
it's
right?
okay. I've done that
Wrong
before,
kid
too.
died.
I'm
Wrong
guilty. I'm guilty of doing that. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time with Leslie Nielsen and Steve Martin. I still do it to this day. So I have that bad habit just because of the two dudes with white hair. on
White
their
hair.
head. That's all it
Come on,
is.
Nick.
That's it.
Those old dudes all look alike to you.
Well,
Did you
and,
guys ever
another-
see the movie Deceiver with Christopher Penn and Tim Roth?
No.
Very good film.
Oh,
It
go
deals
on.
with dude being tested on a lie detector, and the two cops that suspect that Tim Roth is the murderer. But his breakdown of their logic is some of the best acting I've ever seen. Good movie, Deceiver.
So,
And-
in case you
and
guys
Chris
didn't
Penn is
know,
good.
this room is an actual embalming room. When they shot this is an actual embalming room. And I thought,
Yeah,
to
it's a
myself,
well, it's
wow,
a mortuary is where
that's-
they're shooting this. Yeah.
That's so freaking metal to do that. I'm like, wow, that's so metal to do that. An embalming room. Look at that boy. This guy's a runner, man. You see Pink going? He's a juker. But dude, look how daytime and 90s and nice California looks. Seriously, look at it. It looks.
I just don't believe
California.
cops would run that hard to catch a white guy.
Oh, dude, are
They're
you
running with
kidding
like
me?
millions of dollars in
I've
diamonds.
seen
I
them
think they
run, man. Even the ones that are like huge and like the ones that look like they eat a whole box of donuts a day.
No.
I've seen them,
That
like,
second
go
wave of cops.
vegan.
those were the fucking guys that showed up because of the alarm. That first set, they were waiting for us.
It was a setup, man. It was a setup. Mr. Blonde wasn't so sure on setup. He wasn't so sure on that. What makes you think that? I'm just saying. Go
They
ahead.
hadn't done
Well, I was just gonna,
what I told them not to do.
I mean, it's all told through flashbacks, but it's pretty easy to follow, which is, sometimes these flashbacks in movies get really confusing, but Tarantino just does such a great job.
Well, it's kind of him preparing you for Pulp Fiction in a weird way. If you think
right, yeah. I was thinking of Pulp Fiction, yeah. So, you kind of the story unfolds, and that opening scene is so great. They're sitting there on the restaurant, and you can right away you find out who's boss too, and the guy's like, "Just put your fucking dollar in and tip," or you're in big trouble. But the characters and the dialogue, like right away, that 5 minute of the movie, you just get the vibe of the movie, and all these and you're like, at first you're like, what the heck? Why are they calling different colors for the names? Then you pick on it pretty quickly. What's going on?
I never got where they got that from, but I saw the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 not too long ago, and they're all named colors like that. So I wonder if that's where
the original.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's where Tarantino got it from. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, just to address the elephant in the room is when is it homage and when it is flat out stealing. As much as I like his films, he steals a lot from other people.
I think he's homage. I would say it's homage because he's creating a wholly new story out of. Sure, there's similar riffs.
Because this is the one film everybody knows, the Hong Kong film City on Fire. But another one they forget is Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, which this is really a lot like that.
Well, and that's where I will argue, like Tarantino, I mean, you could say, he's just ripping certain things off to a point, but I disagree with that. I feel like he's like a blues artist or a good jazz artist where he can take common riffs we know, because like all blues is the same 2 or 3 riffs, right? But I mean, how many hundreds or thousands of blues songs are there? Like, to me, Tarantino's just another guy who was able to pick up a guitar and play blues, and he can play it just like all the old guys can, but he can play it even better in some cases. So it's like,
what you're saying in effect is what Hitchcock said, that there's nothing new under the sun, with that great biblical
quote. And
De
Palma is basically the Hitchcock Jr., for fuck's sake, if you want to speak about
absolutely
homage,
because he studied under him.
Fine line,
he considers himself the heir apparent, so he uses Hitchcock all the time in his films.
Well, and I just recently read Cinema Speculation, and you can really get an idea of where Tarantino got a lot of his inspiration from. And again, I'm not saying that, there could be an argument to be made for rip off, but he's talked about that a lot. And he resents that idea, but
He's very open about whether you want to call it influence or homage. He's very upfront and outspoken about what he says is that everyone to some point, takes influence, and they take these things and pile them up, mix it up, and it forms into their own thing. Which I would say he's right actually on that. I understand people's arguments of when they say whether you want to say it's a ripoff or homage or an influence. I understand people's arguments, but I actually ultimately agree with Quentin Tarantino. It's just his influences are a culmination of things, and that's what it spits out. And also, Union and Amateur Strategist, yes, I've seen this in person. This is seriously, watch these guys. When you watch them run, it kind of freaks you out because you're thinking, how are you not skinny? These guys run like a track runner when they are when they have like a box of donuts taken from it's freaky. I've seen it happen to a kid. Like when I was in high school or something, saw a cop run at them. Like I said, the guy was super overweight, but somehow, boom! I was just like, that makes no sense. But I just saw that on my own too. So I just want to say, yes, I've seen it. I believe it. Do not underestimate them. It's a very real thing.
And also on that homage versus copying too. I mean, everyone learns from other people, painters, artists, craftsmen, anything musicians. You do, you kind of.
Well, it falls under the thing, Mark, that what Hitchcock was trying to explain to somebody is when he was being interviewed, he said that all stories have already been told. The only thing original is how you tell it.
Yeah, so and he's telling such an original story. It's not like Jar Jar Abrams, The Force Awakens. And I'm in the movie theater. I looked at my buddy. I'm like, didn't we see this story before? And it's not really done that well.
But it's got a bigger ball.
It's got a
bigger ball.
I mean, this movie is just so original in so many ways. And then I joke,
but it also does harken back to a lot of things. It is like a comfort
classic
food of sorts.
Yeah, it's classic, and then it brings you back. And then I remember watching The Graduate with some friends. I've mentioned this before too. And one of the friends, she's like, "This movie has too much dialogue." So Reservoir Dogs is not for you. But that's what's so great about this movie. There's not a ton of action. There's some great action in it, but it's all the tension and the drama.
It is absolutely
the character
talking
study.
head film. It is a talking head film of characters that are all interesting. There's action in here, like right here, this moment here.
Yeah.
Technically, this is action. It's a thriller, but in reality, it is a character study.
Well, it's like music.
I'm going to go with the drama.
Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say it's on such a limited scale that it could almost be a stage play.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 90%.
Yeah, I agree.
With that same verbosity.
Out of the
when are we going to see the musical, Brian?
Well, that's kind of funny.
You could do.
You never know because of the music that's in it is so synonymous with it. No,
like a virgin.
Tarantino wrote it in a way that it could be so small, and you could almost turn it into a play if you wanted to. If worst came to worst,
I'm telling you, Tom, it needs to be done.
The music played a very integral part in the movie because he was willing to sacrifice all the other music just for Stuck in the Middle with You. Like that was so important.
Yes, he had to have that. He had to ruin that song forever for me.
Many people, yes.
Found it eternally ironic after that Gerry Rafferty of Steelers Wheel, who wrote beautiful ballads like Baker Street, he's now best known for a song where a guy cuts off somebody's ear while listening to it.
Well, what's funny is that's the most memorable scene of the film, and the Weinsteins wanted to cut it.
Yes, Harvey was very like against that scene, and Quentin
That's
obviously
a brutal scene
because obviously he's a director, and obviously a director who's very passionate and who's not afraid of pushback when he knows, hey, this can work. Because this movie is considered like a violence propaganda, and this scene, because of that scene, for a point in time, it wasn't released on cassette in Great Britain because of the cop torture scene. That single scene what held back a Great Britain release for a bit. Is that crazy? Like how the reaction.
Well, what's funny is how much you don't actually see.
Right.
Well, how did we jump to the end of the movie here all of a sudden?
Oh, what happened?
That was weird. There was like one shot from the end of the movie.
One shot.
You gave the ending away.
No.
Oh shit!
Spoilers.
Fuck. God. What's great about this is it's written so that every single character is different in personality. It's not just a bunch of guys talking. They're all very different.
Yes.
And it's about how they're dealing with this situation. It's not just, here's a bunch of guys in a room. They're dealing with something hugely stressful.
And how they
how did they all react to that? Yeah.
And we
don't have to handling. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was gonna say I think just know the red shirt said something first.
Yeah, but they are all different. What I found interesting was while we see they're essentially them get interviewed by the boss, right? The one who's setting up the heist. We only see a couple where they actually sell themselves for it. Basically, Mr. Blonde doesn't have to sell himself because he's an old friend of the family's and he's just come out of prison, so they're going to give him work. And the undercover cop, has to really sell it, try and get into the group. But I didn't really get the impression that there was a really strong reason for including the other people. So there's this bunch of, it's not random, but they are all really different. And I was like, when do we find out why all of these guys are the ones chosen for this? And I never really got that. And I don't know whether that was supposed to be part of the story, intentional on Tarantino's part. Oh man,
that could restream.
And Michael Madsen. I love Michael Madsen playing a bad guy. He is phenomenal.
He's the most relaxed man in Hollywood. I think he's always relaxed.
Yeah. I felt like I got like a Matt Dillon on channeling energy out of him for this part. I don't know if it's because they're just dudes who had topped up black hair and the cool, calm, cool, collected personality that they sometimes both wield, but I got some Matt Dillon out of Michael Madsen. Maybe that's just me and what I perceived out of it. That's what I got. And Dearest for $2 says Mr. Purple is on another stream. I see what you did there, Dearest. I see what you did there. And we got a direct dono from Deleted Scenes here for $2. Says, hail Nick, panel, and chat. Watched RD earlier today in anticipation for the show. It's interesting that the only major female character is cut out of the movie. Off topic, would you consider a show about Hardcore Henry, or would Mark D quit in despair? Oh, dude, I thought about Hardcore Henry. Actually, I think just yesterday. Actually, I did think about that. So we'll see. We'll have to talk about that. And thank you for your direct donation. And because of that direct donation, you get the honor of having this clip now for the direct dono.
You have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man.
See that, Daddy? He tried to fuck me.
Oh, that timing was perfect. Dude, I love it. He's like, oh, look, he's trying to get on top of me. Look.
All right. That's enough fucking around. Go play grab ass outside.
Oh, man. So, okay, so we got the restaurant. We have obviously Joey's room. We have the warehouse, the diamond shop, kind of. I mean, you see the outside of it. I'm trying to think. There's like, what, 5 or 6 locations? The parking lot where the shooting happened with Mr. White.
Right.
I'm trying to think. There's like, what, 6 or 7 total locations.
And Mr. Orange's apartment for like 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Orange. And there's the restaurant he was at.
I mean, there's a few places that obviously I'm sure were expanded upon when they knew they were able to shoot more.
Or just reuse. Probably just reuse as well. So probably around like 6 to 7 locations, something around there. Because this was what, budgeted around 30,000 originally before it bumped up to the million?
Well, it started I think 16, then 30 they had,
16,
and then they got 1.5 million altogether when it was all said and done. And I don't even know how much of that went to the soundtrack either. That's a good question, but no, I mean Tarantino, you can tell stretched every penny into a dime on this film. Like,
I don't think Tom necessarily that Steelers Wheel and George Baker would have commanded a huge sum
it was
of money
enough
for
of
the
a
rights.
kerfuffle. They weren't sure they were going to get the rights at first.
Yeah.
And then one thing that helped out a lot was originally Tarantino had money for the opening song. But on just out of happenstance, and this is probably what saved most of the budget if they even could have got money. He heard Little Green Bag on the way home one night in a song that he hadn't heard in a while. And he's like, oh, that'd be perfect for the movie. And he wrote that in instead. And that was obviously much, much cheaper than money would have been.
Yeah. Well, when their budget was originally so limited, it was at the point where a lot of the guys on set had to wear their own actual clothes for the movie. It wasn't like they were like
his jacket right here. That's his jacket.
Yes.
Well, and I could tell that's because that's why Steve Buscemi of all the guys is wearing black jeans instead of actual black slacks or whatever. And Mr. White, of course, Harvey Keitel has a very expensive tailored suit.
And who paid for all of Chris Penn's coke?
Well, that was the salary.
Sean did. Sean paid for it.
Yeah.
He's puffy in the mug in this movie.
Footloose paid for all of Chris Penn's coke.
I don't think he made enough movie on that for all of Chris Penn's coke.
Holy crap! That was a cell phone. Was that a car phone? Was that a?
Yeah, it was a Motorola.
He's got the old cell. No, it's
Motorola.
The really big.
That's the mini brick.
That's the brick. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's actually
that
pretty
was
cool for back then.
That was one of the first.
One.
It's one of the first walk around cell phones.
I used to service those. I was in the
and I would guess it's probably either Chris's own phone or probably one of the production managers or somebody. Somebody who actually had some money.
From Zach Morris.
Yeah.
And this phone is that phone is again in the movie too. If you pay attention, my
The
classic
Motorola.
Motorola. That's one of the guys has this too.
Yeah, I used to work on those.
You can't
days.
kill this. You can kill someone with this phone.
You know, the great thing about mobile phones in those days was you looked cool having one, but there was no towers, so you couldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Well, there's only a few stories of actors who didn't make their way into the movie. I mean, Samuel Jackson did try out for a role and didn't get in.
Yes, he did.
But the most famous story of all is James Woods, probably. I don't know if you guys know this story.
I do. Go on.
James Woods was offered a role, and his manager kept turning him down. They offered him more money, turned him down. Come to find out, a couple of years later, James Woods and Tarantino met up with each other at a party. And Tarantino was like, yeah, I tried getting you for Reservoir Dogs, but it just sucks, man. I wish we could have come to some kind of conclusion. He's like, what? You did? He's like, yeah, but we kept getting a no back. And he found out that what had happened, and he fired his manager over it. Or his agent.
Wow.
His agent. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. That's a big one, dude.
Now, I want
this is one of
to
my
point
favorite
something out
lines.
because somebody brought up Michael Madsen. And one of my
Yes.
favorite, there was an interview I read way back in like 1990, 91 while I was in the Army. And it was where, because there's a story behind the movie The Hot Spot with Don Johnson and Virginia Madsen, where she was
good
supposed to do a
movie.
nude scene, but she supposedly refused to do the nude scene and wore lingerie instead against the production's wishes. But the word is that Michael Madsen was the reason. And that was what I heard in the first interview, was that he showed up on set for his sister and said, yeah, she's not doing a nude scene.
So Don Johnson did it.
He was the
instead.
enforcer.
Don
to
Johnson
make
did
sure.
it.
Yeah, Don
I think
Johnson
he
did
could take-
it.
Yeah, for
I
those
think
who
he could
didn't
take
know, they were
Don
brother and
Johnson, too.
sister. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Virginia and Michael Madsen are
His
brother and
siblings. Yeah, come on. Are we trying to say that he's never seen his sister naked before?
I don't know why you just made me really uncomfortable, Brian.
Maybe
I'll
that's
just
why
say
he
this.
insisted that they don't, is that he has. That's,
you really don't want to waste your time.
you
Michael
don't
said.
want that. No.
I mean, everybody else has seen his sister naked, so yeah, why not him?
Whoa. Bro, on Toxic Tuesday, it's only about one thing, and it's this. Oh,
yeah.
Yo, Apollo!
Yeah, get stuff. Let's get
Heteronormative
here,
stuff.
come on.
Yes.
Two men
Yeah,
hugging.
come on.
That's what it's
Come
about,
on.
man.
That time, I heard you coming.
In New Jersey.
What the fuck?
Well, that's right. He hasn't
Harry
seen
hasn't
that
seen
before.
some of. Yeah, you weren't here for those clips. Yeah.
You're something wrong with your pipes, man, because it makes a noise.
How would you know that there's something wrong with my pipe?
It shouldn't be making noise. That ain't natural.
You even heard your boss, man. It isn't a setup. What? Don't make me
Gary,
clear.
you would
I
know
don't
if
have a
something's
boss.
wrong with my pipe.
I would.
But yeah, as I was saying before, you don't really see so much of the actual ear cutting than you think you do. It's
Right.
kind of like the
True.
heist.
What-
So many people are so insistent that the heist is in the movie. It's like, no, it's not.
It's
You don't
not.
see
No, it's
any of the heist at
The
all.
Mandela effect. Yeah,
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
No,
exist. Yep.
it's just them talking about the plan and what
Wait,
they're
was
going to do
Nelson
around
Mandela in
it, the
this?
ground rules.
Yes.
Yes, he was free because that's why Quentin Tarantino could afford him because it was free.
Yeah, he
Nelson
didn't actually
Mandela.
die in prison this time.
Free Nelson Mandela. Yeah.
I think what's what works once with the torture scene is as Tom mentioned, how you don't even say much. It kind of works in a way because some ways it's better because you imagine the visual in your head, and sometimes when you're getting that mental visual in your head, it's worse because you imagine yourself in that position and how awful that has to feel. Like, oh damn, because sometimes when you see like a character get killed, it's like, oh well, that character just suffered a brutal death. Whereas when they don't show, but you know what happened. It's like, ooh, damn, that's like that gives you like the spine tingle chill, like, oh, that's uneasy. But man, do they
And
know
then
how to
you
make
see
it
the
so
aftermath,
calm and
too.
smooth? Oh, yeah, you do. And because
you're
that's
right,
me,
Nick, you're right.
Madsen actually has said before he actually did not have an easy time filming the scene because of the scene where Marvin Nash, the cop in the scene who's tied up, with the part where he
Marvin-
says he has a
Marvin
kid,
Nash.
like, please, he says, I have a kid, please don't do this. Madsen had a son, born not far from around this time period. So he said definitely he had to really take his mind out of it to really make himself look believable. And I guess you could say taking pleasure in this thing, because he said in his head it was uneasy for him to do this type of scene in his head.
Well, we did skip over one Tarantinoism, the birth of a Tarantinoism. Where did he get that razor from? He pulled it out of his boot. Who else pulls a razor out of their boot?
Oh,
that's right.
Oh, man.
And your brain is spinning now. It's Uma Thurman in Kill Bill Volume 2.
Because there's already a connection between him and Vincent Vega.
Well, they're
brothers.
They're brothers. But now with that one, holy shit, dude.
There's Tarantinoism. Yeah, that was born here. The boot with the razor in it. Yeah. Because the bee has a razor in her boot when she's locked in the coffin. That's how she gets out of the ropes.
And what makes this scene worse too is the sound effects and just that, like you said, you're not seeing it. And I said I'd never watch this movie again after this because of this scene. I just couldn't. It just freaked me out. It was just so hard. Plus, you're like you said, he's a cop and he's the good guy here, right? So you're not rooting for these. You're not supposed to be rooting for these bad guys, but you're kind of endeared to their characters. And when you really break the scene down, these guys are sick motherfuckers. And this is these guys are cops. This guy's a cop just doing his job. And you don't know at this point that Mr. Orange is the mole. Spoiler alert! But
the cop does though. That's the thing. So he's actually protecting him if you think about it.
Yeah, the cop.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
The other cop lets this happen though, and then the guy's like, "How do I look? How do I look?" I mean, it's just so brutal and it's kind of realistic and how it probably would fall out. But I mean, what a sick SOB to do that. And the guy's been to jail and he hates cops, so you can kind of see his character doing that. But it's just another level of deranged. When the other guys are going, do you see how crazy he went during the holdup? He's just shooting people, blowing people away. Harvey Keitel's character, so it kind of fits his character, and he just walks off here like nothing happened. I mean,
and we bypassed another Tarantinoism too, a birth of a Tarantinoism, and that is the shot from inside the trunk, which is repeated several times throughout Tarantino's films, including Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Blonde comes across as so homicidally crazy that even other hardened criminals find him unacceptable to be around. I mean, his reason for shooting all those people during the heist, they shouldn't have pressed the alarm. That was a perfectly reasonable response. They pushed the button. I pulled the trigger. That's
if they wouldn't have done what I told them not to do, they'd still be alive today.
Right.
It's all their fault. It's never his fault. And I sympathize with Harvey Keitel's character. This guy's scary. Even to somebody like Harvey Keitel, this guy scares him.
Sociopathy, man. It's scary shit.
He's a psychopath.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And the music too. We can't hear the music now, but it's kind of a creepy song in some ways to begin with. The melody and
I
feel like it makes it easier to survive the scene because
it has a sense of unease about it. The song.
Yeah.
You got unease. Okay.
This is another bit of trivia. I'm so sorry, but this is the scene that made Wes Craven walk out of the movie.
What?
Wes Craven walked out?
Wes Craven walked out of the movie.
Mr. Horror?
Yes.
Because it was more realistic, I'm guessing, right?
He was asked about it because they asked him, how can the director of Last House on the Left walk out of Reservoir Dogs? And he said something along the lines of, the movies I make don't glorify violence. They show the horrible side of violence. This movie glorified it.
I don't necessarily think it glorifies.
If he would have stuck to the end, I don't think he would have said that. That's what I'm saying. Is I think if he would have stuck to the end, he would have understood. Because that's the thing. Mr. White is like that, even though he is a bad guy and he would kill somebody if he has to. So I said he's more of a sociopath, right? He has morals. There are lines he will not cross. Right.
He has people he's loyal to.
Right.
Won't roll over on his boss.
But dude, when Mr. White, when the cops pulled up, And he shot the shit out of the cops in that car that pulled up when Mr. Brown had died. He shot the shit out of them. And you see Mr. Orange looking like, oh crap. He's got that, like, I know those guys and I'm just kind of watching it here and not doing anything about it look. But I want to, so I guess for you, obviously a lot of you guys have been around this movie longer than I have. I personally, I kind of felt all along it was always Mr. Orange, but I thought the way it was handled made it awesome, and I was totally okay with that as a reveal.
Mr.
Where
Orange
were
from the
you
start,
at, Tom? What did you feel it was always Orange? Did you always feel it was obvious? Was it a surprise for you?
Well, they kind of spoil it early on. Speaking of Hitchcock, it's kind of that. I mean, Mr. Orange is the ticking time bomb underneath the table. Right?
Yeah,
we already know. We all know. But what we're fearing is like, oh my God, we're with Mr. White. That's the weird thing is we're following Mr. White more than we are Mr. Orange in this point because he feels like it's his fault that this is happening. We know he's being lied to in the worst way because he genuinely wants to help this guy. You know, he actually has, you know, some kind of morals. Like I said, he's not a complete psycho like Mr. Blonde is. He actually gives a shit and has, you know, he gives a shit for all his compadres and he feels responsible for this guy being shot and all that kind of stuff. So like in that last scene, you know, not to get it too far ahead, but in that last fucking scene, that's why it kills him. And that's one of the scenes I ask most about everybody when we get to it is, did he shoot him or not? That's the question, you know, because they don't really show it on screen. There's a shot, but is it Mr. White shooting him or is it the first shot getting Mr. White? We don't really get to know that. We don't have that answer. And it's like Mr. White at that point is the audience going, do we do this guy in because he did us over? Or, you know, is it our fault for doing this in the first place? Right. Is what Mr. Blonde done and all the people that died in the process of this fucked up, you know, what was just meant to be a quick smash and grab that turned into a massacre because of Mr. Blonde. Right. Like it you know, you have this guy who's very conflicted because of everything that just happened. And now he's just being told that the guy he basically put his life on the line for is a fucking cop. So like, the whole time that he argued against, you know, it's that one, you know, that it's easier to convince somebody that, you know,
it's easier to fool them to convince them that they're being fooled them. Yes.
Exactly,
oh yeah. No, it plays off that element perfectly because he's the guy who got shot and he's laying down straight up bleeding to death. Literally. Yeah. It's a good way to cover up.
Where that Mexican standoff, I mean, is the, you know, climax of the film. I mean, you don't have this big, huge, you know, action sequence or anything like that. It's a Mexican standoff and it's literally down to, you know, he's got the gun on Tierney and Chris has got the gun on him. And he's like, stop pointing the gun at my dad, you know, and all that kind of shit. It's just a great fucking scene leading up to that moment. And we all know. And now we just have to, you know, allow Mr. White to come to that conclusion, basically. Yeah.
And the squibs in that scene went off in the wrong. I don't know. I guess we'll talk about when we get there, but that's why that last scene is so screwed up in terms of who shoots who. And I was reading an article on it, and the squibs went off at the wrong time, so they just went with it. So it was supposed to be, I think, it was supposed to be Mr. White shooting at the end, going back.
Most people think he
shooting
did,
twice, but he you know. You can see, and I watch in slow motion. I'm like, because I'm watching, I'm like, wait, no one shot Chris Penn, and he goes down. But he said his squib went off, so he just went down. And then Tarantino said he decided to keep it because it added to the mystery of the movie. He's like, fuck it, I'm not going to reshoot it.
Well, didn't Tim Roth have his gun on him?
Yeah, when we get to the end, no, but Tim Roth never shoots. So I should have saved the article.
I'll have to watch it. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again. It's been so many times since I've watched it, but I've never.
His gun was empty.
Well, didn't he reload it though? I can't remember now. I'd have to look.
I don't think he
but
did.
No, it's not in the. They said Mr. Blonde wasn't supposed to shoot, and he never shot.
I swore he reloaded it afterwards when he's talking to the cop. Because I remember him shoving it down on the ground to reload it. I could be wrong.
Well, that's what I thought that, because especially when you're clipping the movie, you're watching it, and then I put it, super slow mo. Of course now you can do that these days real easily.
Yeah.
Back when we had VHS, you're like try to pause a VHS and the thing is shaking, and it was just I'll see if I can dig up the article again.
I'll have to go back and look because I actually watched it a couple times here in the last few months because I got the 4K. It's been a few weeks since I've seen it. That's why
Yeah.
I'm not totally.
And I
fresh with it.
clipped the end over that scene over just to see that scene in slow motion because I love that kind of stuff. It's like who shot who, and then I'm like, let me just check the interwebs and see what they say about this. And the squibs go off at
Okay,
the
so
wrong
Orange
at
didn't
the wrong
rule.
time.
I trust Steven.
We got two different comments
Well,
here.
we got two
Bleed
different
Saints
comments
he
now.
didn't. Snow says he did.
Wow.
Well, guys, we're at a standoff in more ways
It's a
than
Mexican
one.
stand-up.
We're at a standoff in the chat and in the movie.
I'll
I
find that
love
article. I'll
seeing
find it. Yeah.
Roth's transformation to becoming, I guess you could
I
say,
thought he
one
did when
of
he was talking to
them.
the cop.
I love seeing him practicing to become one of them because he's got to be an actor. He's got to become one of them. Tell a story, translate a little bit of your real life. 4 pages. I have memorized all this shit type of thing. And also rewatch it. And this is something I brought up to you, Tom, earlier in the day. It also makes me like, damn, even though Tim, you mentioned it, that Tim Roth is probably making a much bigger paycheck now with She-Hulk, but it depresses me because I see his talents in this movie, in these particular scenes, and now he's just, flushed away.
Don't forget he was in the Planet of the Apes. Don't give him a complete pass on every.
I'm not gonna give a complete pass on everything. It's just you see some like this.
I like
and
him and all, but
that.
yeah.
That's all. It's just like, damn, talk about what a downgrade. And like, obviously not
He was in Hateful
financially.
Eight.
Yes, he was. That's true, and that was a few years ago. She-Hulk's the most recent thing, so it's easiest for me to, I guess, to go after that one per se.
Yeah.
But I love seeing the transformation, especially when he has to describe to his friend that Joey looks like the Thing.
Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer pull.
Yeah.
Dude. I remember
Kirby's in
when
the
I
movie,
saw
the credits.
Yeah, Jack Kirby's signature. Yeah. I remember when I
Yeah.
first saw this many years ago, because this is at a time where I guess you could say a lot of kids were reading Silver Surfer comic books, and everyone like who I knew was like, dude, they saw a Silver Surfer comic in the movie, man, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then when he mentions that Joey looks like the Thing, I freaked my shit because that you would freak out. It was at that time where if you had a superhero character mentioned in a movie,
Yeah.
you would lose your freaking shit about that. And his one buddy called, obviously Suso, he called her the invisible bitch, and then he said flame on. And then all of a sudden he says, yeah, he looks like the fucking Thing. And then they see a big Thing
Motherfucker
action
looks like
figure
the
on the
Thing.
table. You know what? He kind of does. Like he's got that shape, like he's got the shape of the Thing in those scenes where he's talking and about what their names are gonna be. I couldn't help but unsee the Thing in it. This is a very weird situation. God, that haircut's so 90s. Man. A bunch of with a
That should be Mr. Orange, right? Yeah. That'll scare everyone. Yep.
Shite.
He looks a little like Lawrence Tierney.
If you mention the Thing in the movie, I was like, holy shit, they mentioned Ben Grimm, yeah.
Dude, right? It was a big deal because like it was just like you'd be happy that because you didn't think you'd ever get a cinematic universe of movies. You're just so happy like characters that you loved are being mentioned. And I thought, wow, of all the movies, this is the one they get mentioned. For me, that was the coolest thing because I think I saw this. I think the first time, I think it was actually a few months after Kill Bill 1 came out. I think that's when I first saw this. If my memory is correct on that, with that,
So you were
within
brought
like
to
a
it
year or
because
two
of
after
another
that.
movie, is what you're saying.
Yes, it was because
Yeah,
I remember when Kill Bill came out. I saw it in theaters, and I remember the tagline for the commercial said "the fourth film by Quentin Tarantino," and I thought to myself, "Oh, well, what's the first movie?" And well, technically, obviously, he's had screenplays and stuff that are technically within the same period of time, little before, a little after that, were being held and then they got approved after the success of this movie. But as far as directorial, I guess you could consider it the first movie in that regard. But yeah, because I see his directing and writing in this movie. But because there's what was that movie he had a writing credit that
True
I saw
Romance.
not much longer.
True Romance and
Natural Born Killers. Natural Born
Killers. He doesn't consider his film, but True Romance he does. But when he talks about his films, he's talking about the ones he's directed. So this would be his first. Pulp is his second. Jackie Brown's his third. His fourth would be Kill Bill.
Kill Bill 1 and 2, because those are considered separate films he does.
Yeah, and so on. So well, he counts Death Proof. Well, he counts Death Proof, as well. But yeah, so on. But anyway, yeah. Even though he also wrote like a few other things like Dusk Till Dawn and such.
Now, I'll admit there's one thing I never understood. What was the point of the sound going loud for the air blower? What was the point of that? I never understood.
Just to freak out the tension, I thought. Just to freak with you as a viewer.
Because he feels like their eyes are all on him, even though they're not paying attention.
Okay, because I was like, I wasn't sure if that was a thing about him or if that was for the viewer, and so I never was sure to this day on that. I was like, I obviously
that's what he's supposed to be picturing because his back is to them right now.
Yeah.
So I think this is from his mind.
I think here's the takeaway, though, that when you stop and think about all this shit, it never fucking happened. This is just
it's all
a
fake.
story
It's
he
all
made
fake.
up.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was saying is because the guy told him you've got to be in the story. You need to be able to smell everything, and so that's what I'm saying is he's getting into his own head in that moment. So even in his eyes, he's like in his mind's eye, he's like, yeah, those guys were just beating on my neck,
dude.
While I'm making, trying to get out of there casually as I can. Sorry, you were about to say something, Mark.
No, it's like I agree 100%. Yeah, it's here we go. Just the thing, and of course then Kevin Smith and Mallrats. They're asking Stan Lee about the Thing's dong. I mean, that's how that pissed me off. But anyway,
fantastic. Does his thing such? That's a superhero secret. I can't do a Stan Lee voice, but that's a secret.
But that's what you love, all these little details in these movies. That's what makes the script is just so damn good, because it seems real, right? And there's the Thing. There's a statue of the Thing, right? I have that model actually, and there's the cell phone. Oh, I do have that. I got that. And then here's that's the cell phone right there. So I got that, and I got.
I had that Guns and Ammo. Mark.
You win. But those are the things that you really, appreciate in a movie like this, especially with so much dialogue that you're thinking about every little thing, and these characters are brought to life too by all these extra details that make sense. Unlike a lot of movies that shows you watch today, it's
right.
The Tarantino really cared about what's happening here. He wants you to believe these characters, and this is not as much as we love John Wick, this is not a John Wick shoot 'em up. This is kind of a more realistic take on what happened.
It isn't.
I agree with Tom on that. I get Mark's point, but I would say it is in a sense that it's not always about the shoot 'em up, but you also have these conversations.
Well, I meant the realistic part of it. And that's what I was getting at before too.
Stylized, stylized.
Yeah, because I think it was you, Mark, that said that somebody had said that they tried watching it with someone, they're like, oh, it's too talky or whatever. It's like, well, the difference between this and a lot of other films where it's just a lot of fucking useless dialogue is we've been sitting here this whole time quoting it, right? It's very quotable. Tarantino knows how to make very sing-song dialogue to where it sounds natural, but even like Ebert and a lot of those guys noticed early on, it's like, it's not. The more you listen to it, the more it's clearly crafted that way. Like he sat down and he really thought about how the words need to be said in what order and how. Like a great example is the Pulp Fiction speech in the car, right?
Yeah, the Royale.
The Royale with cheese, because it comes off as a skit, right?
Exactly.
Like that's the thing. It sounds natural at first, but then when you go back and
nobody would ever talk about that.
Everything has to be said in a certain fucking way for it to come out the way it does, for it to be funny, or it's like a well-crafted joke. Like everything has to come down to a beat where it needs to come down to. And that's the same thing with this movie, and you can really tell that's where he's getting a lot of these scenes. Each scene is built around that kind of an idea. Each scene is built around a huge dialogue.
To that scene?
Yeah.
I just got to ask Nick. We got this up.
I didn't go
to
to
real
Burger
cereal
King.
there, Nick? The fruit brute.
Yes, that is Fruit Brute. Along with
Yeah.
the Count Choculas and Frankenberry and Blueberry.
It's one of the
There was
few-
Fruit Brute.
it's one of the
and
few
there was
products-
Mummy something else. Mummy, Tom, help me. Mummy
I
or
am
Fury.
Mumberry or something. I can't remember what it was. But
Mumberries, yeah. But they
Yeah,
still make
yeah.
fruit brute, or that's gone.
They
they
brought
okay,
it back a
well,
couple
They
years
run
ago.
every
asterisk.
once in a while. Every
time out,
once
an
in a while.
asterisk on that, because Fruit Brute is one of the few actual things that Tarantino has as a product in his movies. Because that's another thing, if you notice, starting from this film on, we've already seen a Big Kahuna burger cup. He's got red apple cigarettes. There's certain brands that he has throughout. The only ones that he ever brought in that was a real brand up until unless he references a brand, is Fruit Brute, because at that time it had been they hadn't made it since the 70s. That's
Yeah,
a
'cause I
box
ate
that
it as
he
a kid.
kept. Yeah, that's a box that he
Holy
kept from the
crap.
70s. And now they brought it back here recently, but people don't like it because instead of being made from grain, they're making it from corn now.
Okay.
So all
That's
those they re-brought back all the monster cereals, but people have been
It
griping
was
they don't taste like they're
Frankenberry,
They don't
supposed
taste
to.
the same, right?
Blueberry, Count Chocula, the Yummy Mummy,
Blueberry. Oh
and-
yeah,
and-
Yummy
and,
Mummy. That's what it
Blueberry.
was.
Thank you,
and
Brad.
the werewolf
Blueberry.
one.
Mummy.
But then they also did one that had a combination of all of them called Crunch Monster.
Yes,
That was
I've
all
had
of
Was
that
them
that
in
one.
one.
The Monster Mash one or whatever? Yeah.
I think it was called Crunch Monster.
You
I'm
might
not
be
sure.
right. I thought it was but maybe they
Oh
didn't.
no,
make the
Monster
com-
Crunch. Monster Crunch.
Yeah, but then I was gonna say in the commercial, didn't they have the Monster Mash song or whatever? Because I've seen
Yes.
the commercial. Yeah.
Yes,
Fruit
they had the
Brute
Monster
was
Mash,
brought back
but it was Monster Crunch.
last year for the
Yeah, they
last
just
year's Halloween
recently
lineup. They
did,
brought
yeah.
it back, and I bought a few boxes of that. And
It may
So
be
this
good,
is-
but
makes
it's not
this
nearly
movie-
as
Wait a
good as
minute. Wait a
it
minute.
used to be.
Are you guys actually admitting to eating that shit in public? Admitting
Fuck
in public?
yes.
Oh my
Not
god,
anymore, but the
Yeah.
old school
that
I would.
explains so much.
Well, I guess
Nick
it's
and I
fitting
live
for
off of
toxic
cereal,
Tuesday.
man.
That shit is toxic.
That scene got to go.
Pizza and
Got it
cereal.
going, right? That one box of cereal, right? That's one of the little details you know, like I was saying, you love about this movie. All these little things that pull you into their world. So yeah, I thought it was a fake cereal.
No,
So I knew
it
Nick
just-
was here; he would know because
he adopted it. Yeah, he adopted it because it was out of print or whatever you want to call it, or out of production, whatever.
Yep. That's hysterical. Yeah, and he probably loved it, right?
Oh yeah, he was a huge fan of it as a kid. He was so pissed when it got discontinued. Yeah, that's why he saved the box. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like New Coke in '85, right? You know, everyone was going crazy when they were. Imagine getting rid of Coca-Cola. People were going
But
nuts.
Nick, if you think those cereals are good now, they ain't shit compared to what they used to be, man. When they used to be
I
made out of-
agree.
made out of grain and with real sugar. Now they're made out of corn with corn syrup and shit.
There was a guy on TikTok that was going back and eating old stuff. He did a reel or whatever, a TikTok where he went back and ate a huge bowl of the 1989 Batman cereal.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He actually died.
Oh
What?
no!
From
I
the
don't
cereal?
necessarily know if he died from eating the cereal or eating old stuff in general, but he actually died.
I don't
was
think
like- I
the
was
cereal
like,
would have done that.
oh,
to
no.
me. Yeah. That's too
Yeah, but
bad.
I remember he was spitting it out of his mouth almost. Right? It was so
He was
bad.
like gagging and shit, but then he kept putting
Yeah.
more spoonfuls in his mouth. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
For the most part, that stuff should still be edible, but yeah, it's gonna taste nasty as fuck.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did it.
with
I
how-
put them in the private chat, guys. The images of the original boxes of cereal, and I also found a copy of Monster Crunch. So
There
it's
we
in there
go.
for you guys.
Yeah.
Monster Crunch. I love those designs. Those boxes are so cool.
Here's another great scene where it's just the dialogue, right? Because they're talking about the Foxy
Yes.
Brown show or whatever it was. But yeah,
And what I love about these actors in these roles is how much they look like they're genuinely having a conversation. They played it so well, knew their
yeah.
lines so well, and they sell it.
I love.
They
this
probably
scene, too.
actually hung out together so they
Oh,
can
there it is.
get to know each
Yeah,
other.
put it up for a second. Yeah, cereal break.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's the main ones, but then the other one I wanted
Don't
Tom to
joke.
see if you get a chance to show it is the Monster
Crunch. Yeah.
That
There we
that
go. I'm
took
going to pull
all
that
of
over
them
now
and
too.
put
Yeah,
them all into one cereal.
Why not?
It's like when you work at a fast food restaurant, we had what's called a suicide, where you mixed all of the sodas together into one. And it was just
Oh, I've
God,
done
it was-
that. Oh,
it
dude,
is
I've
so
done
much
that a
sugar,
few
dude.
times.
It's so much sugar. It's
I
ridiculous.
haven't done
dude.
that recently, but back in the day, like when the KFC Famous Bowl is brand new, I remember I had asked for a bucket-sized Famous Bowl, so they rang up as 5 Famous Bowls put together. So it was just like this bucket filled with popcorn, chicken, cheese, corn, and mashed potatoes. A bucket. Imagine a bucket of this.
And
just call it a trough.
All we were doing was sitting around talking about fucking cereal.
Get back to the movie, you fuckers.
Well, what Tom was talking about, like the economy of words in the script and the way he writes it. So, I mean, it is like a stand-up comedy special or whatever. Like, you can take what seems long-winded and nonsensical dialogue, like just mundane dialogue between people, but he makes it with that economy of words and actually makes it poetic. So, like, yeah, like that's what I wanted to say before we kind of got off on the thing about cereal.
No, and this is a great scene for that too, especially like, you know, where he comes in with the whole, like, you know, you guys are horsing around and telling jokes, and then you're sitting there when everything goes wrong and you're asking, what did we do? What should we have done differently? And it's like, maybe when you were sitting around planning this job, you were telling jokes, you know. It's like the whole scene is like, yeah, you know, and then we get into the Mr. Pink conversation and all that kind of stuff, which is classic. But again, this is another scene where most people think it's earlier in the film than it really is too. Yeah. Mr. Brown,
it's amazing.
Mr. Shit.
Yeah.
No matter how
Mr.
young
Shit.
Quentin
Mr. White.
Tarantino is, he still manages to be ugly.
That's right. A face only a mother could love.
I'm glad you're the one to point that out, Geary.
He's funny as how many other movies he's been in that aren't his, right? Like and other guest spots and stuff that he's done. Yeah.
Faces
And did he
of
finish his
Love,
last?
Gary Busey and Steve Buscemi.
Yep.
Hey,
Didn't
why
he
am I
finish his
Mr.
last
Pink?
movie now? Yeah, this is a great scene. Yeah.
Why can't we
It's
be
all
role models?
flashback.
No way. No way. Tried it once. It doesn't work. You get 4 guys all fighting over who's going to be Mr. Block, but they don't know each other, so nobody wants to back down. No way. I pick. You're Mr. Pink. Be thankful you're not Mr. Yellow. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Black
one,
would have
Nick.
been Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, but Mr. Brown, that's a little too close to Mr. Shit. Mr. Pink sounds like Mr. Pussy. How about if I'm Mr. Purple? That sounds good to me.
No, we already got him, Mr. Purple. Mr. Purple's on another job. You're Mr. Pink.
I love it. He's so committed
And
that
there's
he's
Mr. Strangely Brown.
A little too close to Mr. Shit. Sounds like Mr. Pussy. Yeah.
Here's what your name is. Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You're Mr. White. You have a cool sounding name. All right, look, it's no big deal to be Mr. Pink. Do you want to trade? Hey, nobody's
No one's
trading
trading.
with anybody.
Did anybody else flash back to school at some point, listening to somebody in their class complaining about the nickname they'd been given?
Or color, yeah.
Yeah.
But
This is
I
a bunch
want
of
the
kids.
red one.
Yeah, exactly. This is a bunch of sixth
You know what's
graders
really
arguing
weird is-
over nicknames, and the teacher's going, "No, I decide your nicknames."
Show that video again, Mark.
Yeah.
Because I swear to
Of
God,
Nick.
you
That's
look
Nick.
just enough like him.
Yeah,
That
it's
looks
pretty close.
almost
I
normal.
don't know. He's kind of funny looking. What do you mean by funny looking? I don't know.
It's like
Just funny
Tarantino
looking.
became
Yeah,
from
put it-
the trailers.
wait.
Funny looking, yeah. Funny looking.
Let's put it
little
on the
guy.
loop here. You ready? Let's see here. Let me get down back here. All
I'm
right, here
gonna
we
go
go.
with Tarantino.
Yeah.
Tarantino
Tarantino.
is
the
always the
weakest
weakest
actor.
actor.
Yeah, Tarantino.
Well, you put him up against Roth. I don't agree with that. Like,
I know that's the part that's
maybe-
unfair because Roth is miles better.
yeah.
He did well with George Clooney.
Yeah, he's
Well,
better
George
in- he's
Clooney
better in
only
Lost
played
Boys.
one
That's why I
character.
said it, because I don't think he's that good an actor.
George Clooney's just George Clooney.
Yeah,
I will
know.
not
was gonna
forget.
say-
He had the most unintimidating Batman and Batman Robin, where he drops his like, "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman," and it's the worst use of the words
worst.
"I'm Batman"
Ever.
ever.
He apologized for it, thankfully. So,
Hmm.
and I do have my Batman action figure with nipples, thanks to him. So,
Oh, does it have nipples
I got
on
the,
the
I have the
nipples or it
12-inch
doesn't
one.
count?
I have the 12-incher. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
You have a
gotta tell you,
12-inch
dude,
figure with nipples
he
on it.
apologized, but then turned right around and said he wanted to make a new Batman film. and then gave his idea, and I'm like, now your apology is rejected. That is a terrible idea. Make a Batman movie where Batman's insane. Good one.
I just need Batman to not be loaded on soy. I need him to be like a big motherfucker who fucks, thieves and crooks up from
knock knock. I'm here to see the Penguin.
He's just got to fuck.
Batman's into restorative justice now, so thankfully he won't hit the criminals. So
hey, Black Lives Matter.
Hey, cat, you want to get in my cave? I'll go in yours. You go in mine after.
Now it's just so
Batman would
nasty.
be arrested pretty quickly in Chicago these days, huh, Nick? Right?
There's no arresting in Chicago.
That's true. With the
not at the UN. The UN's okay
in the
with
Safety
that.
Act, by the logic of the Safety Act logic, emphasis on those words, quotation marks, Dr. Evil style, Batman would be the criminal in Chicago right now.
Absolutely.
He'd be the fascist. Yeah.
He's a white guy.
Yeah, but you don't have too many. At least you don't have too much looting going on in your city right now. But we don't get sidetracked that way. Not too much. Yeah,
let's keep it fun because I don't miss. Besides the food, other than that, I have a few friends that remain there. I don't miss Chirac at all. Like I have my one venue that I like for shows because the owner there's a really good guy. And he's got cool dogs, and he's always treated me like gold. But other than that, it's like besides that venue, bro. And my few friends, other than that.
How good is the Reggie's area? Because I'm thinking about going to see Chemist up there.
Go. By all means, go. Because Reggie's still has, not only do they have great security, who the people who are security and the bartenders are actually very personable, but the staff there is good. The food's still good. And the people who attend the shows at Reggie's are really cool too. So I would say, yes, if you go anywhere in Chicago, you go to Reggie's because Reggie's staff is awesome. They're absolutely awesome people. So go
when
to
in
Reggie's.
Chicago,
and then get out of Chicago right
and
after.
then get out.
Hold on. Make an extra. Hold on. I'm gonna backtrack. Make an extra stop for Vito Nick's Pizza. You make that extra stop in the South Side for Vito Nick's. It's one of the greatest pizzas there. It's been there for 80 years for a reason.
Yep.
I think I'm backtrack the slideshow.
I've eaten there. I have a question, Tom. On Action Com's comment, you would probably know the answer to this. What's he talking about? That it was revealed in the script that Mr. Blonde shot up a police officer's child's birthday. I don't remember that. Is it in the movie or was it in an earlier script?
It might have been either an earlier script or a deleted scene. There is a set of deleted
I don't know anything
scenes
about
that
this.
I haven't.
It was Action
That's the
Com
first
that
time I've
said
heard that. Yeah, I'd have to go look.
Action Com says in the script it was revealed Mr. Blonde shot up a police officer's child's birthday.
Damn, that's brutal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because what he goes to jail for in this movie is pretty minor, right? There was they just got bagged at holding some stolen goods or something, or what? How'd they explain it in the? I'm trying to remember now. But it was relatively minor, but then he wouldn't give up his boss there, and they did 4 years. So, which plays, to the end of the movie when he's trying to explain to Mr. White, Sean Chris Penn's character is like, this guy did time for us. He's not going to rat us out right now. And then Mr. Blonde's story, falls apart pretty quickly. But Mr. White doesn't want to. I guess he doesn't want to believe that he's wrong. But yeah, and then Mr. Blonde is watching these cops get killed too. So this is eating at him too. He can't do anything, right?
Go. Right, here we go, Mr. Orange reacting because it's like I felt like he knew those guys, so it's like he's saying people that who he knew that he works with get shot, and I can understand that he's got that believable. For me, I don't see anything wrong with Tim Roth's performances. I thought he's had that face that if a guy makes when you're trying to be undercover. But at the same time, it's like people are getting shot who you work with. It's like, yeah, that's a tough position to be in. That's probably the best expression you can make at that because he's still got to play it cool with Mr. White here. And Mr. White.
And I trust
deleted-
I trust deleted scenes on deleted scenes too. So that
Yeah,
could be that
deleted says it was White that shot up the cops' party, and it's in a deleted scene. And of course, he would know deleted scenes.
Yeah,
And Mr. White, dude, he was just as much of a savage as Blonde was. He shot the shit out of those cops. As soon as they pulled up,
a little different though,
seriously.
torturing a guy and cut. It's just like you're trying to get away. It's like he's not unnecessarily, not that I'm obviously not condoning shooting
He's just
cops,
killing
but
them to
he's
death.
just trying to get. He's just trying to get out and not go to jail.
Oh
So.
yeah, I know.
And then this lady,
But
do you think
he
this
heard the
person just had?
helicopters. this
This was not another undercover cop here, obviously. This was just a random lady that had a gun, right? And this is the only. Is that the only lady girl in the film?
Yeah, that girl, dude.
And then he kills her,
the
right?
waitress. The waitress
killed
was
her.
barely in there, and they killed this lady. Yeah.
So
this is-
he's got to kill her as a cop, right?
Yes, he's got to kill her as a cop because she shot first, and obviously
It's technically self-defense.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
but also
not.
he broke into her car though. That's
Because
another
he's a
thing,
cop,
too.
it is.
It's carjacking, so it's death in the commission of a felony. So at least it's felony murder. But this is the thing. I've seen a lot of undercover cops movies. I've read the stories. I've read Serpico, Donnie Brasco. One of the things a cop
They always turn
cannot
a
do
blind eye.
undercover is kill somebody. That's just the absolute no. Almost anything else is part of an investigation. Bribery, anything like that can be done as long as it doesn't constitute entrapment. But this is why the mafia, after Donnie Brasco, instituted the rule that nobody can become a made guy until they've committed a murder for the family, because they knew a cop would not do it, could not do it.
Yep.
Because the testimony would no longer be of any value in court. A defense lawyer would say he's part of the family. He shot somebody for the family. He committed murder for the family. Absolutely discredits the cop as a witness. So he is useless now as an undercover cop for having shot that woman.
Yep.
The other thing that was strange too is why they wait so long to go in. I guess the movie doesn't work, but they said the cops are waiting. I guess because they're waiting for the boss to show up. But wouldn't the boss already be implicated in this, or with testimony, or they take one of these guys alive? I mean, that's only. I mean, the movie, it's kind of a nitpicking thing, but it's like this undercover cop knows that these cops are out there. Wait, he's dying here, right? And nothing. The guys wait for hours or however long it is to go in. Just you'd think at that point, once I knew everyone's shot up and everything's gone to hell, they wouldn't wait and they just go in there. And then when the boss is in there too, they're not even. You think they'd be like right around the corner. So, but I don't know what you guys thought about that, but.
Well, I agree with you, because the fact that Steve Buscemi walks out of there with the bag and leaves, and you don't hear anything after that. He just walks away. It's like there isn't anybody out there.
It
it
didn't make sense to me. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't make sense to me either, because what I expected was that as soon as he opened that door, he was going to be blown away. And he wasn't.
Yeah, because as Eric, it was taken from that Hong Kong film, City on Fire, and there were snipers there. There were cops outside waiting. Whereas in this film, I remember that. It's like
they say they're waiting for Lawrence Tierney's character. That's the whole point.
So they're not going to make a move until he shows up.
Yeah.
Till he come out, that was what they were waiting for. Yeah.
But at this point, with everything going to hell, you'd think they would have, because they planned that probably from the beginning, and they knew where this warehouse was and the meetup. But once everything goes to hell and there's this shoot up and
they have no clue what's going on inside. That's the point. So when they see Steve Buscemi leave, they're just like, yeah, let him go. We're waiting for Lawrence Tierney to come back out, basically.
Yeah.
Eddie loses his.
So they could connect him to the crime. That was the whole point. Yeah.
Eddie loses his mind at this part. Like, he was like, "You're trying to tell me who this guy who was loyal to me will just suddenly have the randomest change?" Like, I thought his eyes were gonna pop off from his head, because he really makes you feel like his eyes are like, he's just like, "You guys saw me on this freaking story, and this is what you expect me to run with," and they'll go, of course. good old Grandpa Joe comes in here and he goes on his Harrison Ford tangent, and it's really good. And I say it's just as good as any Harrison Ford tangent I've ever done. And you know how I know it's good? Because it's got instincts.
And it was dead silence.
He's a good kid.
So let me say this out loud because I want to get it straight in my head.
Yeah, it's gonna kill us, right? Yeah.
You guys just couldn't follow up that great instinct.
It was
I was
too
just
good.
making
It was too good.
subtle nods to the speech and all that stuff with it. So Steve Buscemi holding on to that'll be the day. Action. Oh, Steve Buscemi.
Hey, can someone get the guy a towel, please, Mr. Blonde? It's like these guys know no first aid. It's like they're just letting him bleed out there on the slab. It's so brutal, right?
Yeah, could you imagine a girl after a porno walking around like that all afternoon?
Oh yeah.
How gross that is.
Yeah, it's really fucking gross. No, dude, that's these guys for you. They're all in it for themselves. And I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm being fair, but that's part of their life situation. It's, you know, it's the whole dog eat dog world. You know, everyone's got to just do their part, and that's pretty much it. Because as Joey said, like, you don't talk about where you've done time at. You're not talking about, you know, your life with your wife, your past life. You're there to talk about what you're going to do for the job. That's your conversation. That's where it starts and that's where it stops. So, yeah, I mean, you can't really have it's definitely not a business where you have attachment, even though Eddie here definitely had some attachment to obviously Mr. Blonde because they go back. But other than that, yeah, it's really supposed to be a business where it's just business, as they say. It's just business. He's just going to decide on fucking Blue to rip us off. Man,
Penn is so good in the scene. Look at the expression.
Oh, I know.
He's
Oh,
like
look at
going-
those. See, that's what I mean about those
Yeah.
eyes. Dude,
Eyes are
look
gonna
at those-
pop out, right? Yeah.
Right. And to what you said, Nick, you know, the one guy who doesn't wind up in the big Mexican standoff at the end is the one guy who keeps talking about being professional. Steve Buscemi's character.
Yep.
He's the one who's like, "What are we doing? We got to get out of here. This place is, they probably know about this. We can't all hang around here together. This is stupid." Oh, shut up. We're gonna, we got to wait for the boss. It's like he's the only one who's acting on that sense of self-preservation and I'm in this for me. I want my share and I want to get out of here. And he's the only one.
And the boss knows right away too who ratted him out. Like right away.
Right.
He knows it's Mr. Blonde too. So he's a smart guy. He's the only guy. Then he said he's the only guy that he wasn't sure about, right? So and he kind of blames himself there too.
Mr. Blonde or Mr. Orange?
Oh, Mr. Orange, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
He
Tim
knows
Roth's
Mr. Orange,
character.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
guy.
Tim Roth,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, he knows. And that's what breaks the stalemate. That's where the whole story comes apart. And that's where things go sideways fast.
Yeah, but Mr. White still can't believe it, right?
He still can't believe. Yeah, he just can't believe it. He's like, no, it can't be right. That can't be right.
Yeah.
Well, he
There we
got
go.
invested in him. He was there when he got shot, and he's in this position where he took a bullet for us. He was helping us with the mission, or he looked obviously as if he was helping in part of the mission of the getaway per se. He was just so like, hey, you're all running on emotions and all that, which to be fair, that is a fair argument because everyone is kind of running on emotions. I mean, we all see how Joe's acting, how freaking Eddie's acting. Everyone besides Mr. Pink, yeah, he's the one who's being a true blue
Dillinger.
professional. That is
Good
Dillinger,
line.
yeah.
Good line.
He is right. He is making good arguments, except for the fact that he's wrong. That Joe was right about him saying that I don't need proof when I got instincts, or you don't need proof we have instincts.
Well, the moment Orange fucked up was when he killed Mr. Blonde over the cop.
Yeah,
I hate to say it. He should have just let the cop sacrifice himself at that moment. There's nothing else he can do.
Apparently,
I can't imagine letting that happen in real life.
Yeah, if anything, he should have shot the cop himself just to save the cop from the torture. And then that way,
he's already going to be in trouble for killing the woman.
Exactly. Like at this point, he thinks he's dying, knows he's dying anyway. How much blood has he fucking lost? He's white as a ghost at this point. You know?
There's no way he'd be conscious at this point anyway.
Because that's what he says. He says flat out. He's basically there's nothing he can do because he knows they're waiting for Lawrence Tierney's character anyway. So
go back one frame, Mark.
Sure. Yep.
Back to the shot of
this one, or
right there.
That's supposed to be professionals.
That's you, Nick. Yeah. Seriously, that looks like you, Nick.
We're supposed to be fucking professionals here.
Standoff.
No, you're right. He doesn't have a gun in his hand. You're right.
Standoff.
The gun's
and I'll show that article. I'll show that article.
Yeah, I saw it when you were looking at it. It didn't really show the images, but now you can see it plain as day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just put our guns down. No, I remember thinking, man, who's gonna shoot who, and it ended up being everyone shot everyone.
Well, Mr. White does stand still, so maybe he's shot both of them. We'll say.
And of course,
Mr. White was supposed to shoot both. Mr. White was supposed to take out his dad and then turn the gun and shoot him.
Yeah.
So we'll show
nice
the article
guy
after.
Eddie was killed by the sound man.
Yeah.
He was in on it the whole time.
Well said.
Or was Alec Baldwin on this movie? No,
right.
Wasn't.
Too soon.
Oh my God, too soon.
Oh, that was perfect.
Right, see that line there? Apparently, there's a line in Shaun of the Dead that refers to that.
Oh,
don't point that gun at my mum.
Yes, I remember that scene.
Look.
Dude.
Yeah.
So he shoots. And I clipped it twice. So he shoots. Pen goes down, and see that there's three shots, and they said the squib went off. So Mr. White Keitel is supposed to go back and point his gun and shoot at Penn, but there's not another shot that goes off. So they just went with it, or they thought they'd reshoot it.
They could have just done it digitally later and added back in there as he's going down. They shot him.
Yeah, and I reclipped it. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And I'm looking for Mr. Blonde to shoot. He doesn't have a gun. He's not shooting either. So,
Mr.
like
Orange,
you said, the sound man, Mr. Orange. Yeah, I keep messing up the names. Yeah, Mr. Orange. Thank you. Yep.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong here, but Tom, in particular, and Brian, you two might get what I'm saying here. The ending here with the two of them together at the end reminds me of the end of the War of the Roses with Michael Douglas and Turner.
Well, I remember the very end of that where she slaps his hand away.
Yeah, where he goes to touch her cheek. She slaps his
trying to
hand
affectionately.
away. I don't know why, but this scene always, those two connect in my head. Those two films. Because he knows he's a cop. He knows he's a cop now.
Mr. Zenon has a great point. I love the detail. Eddie calls him at this point. Now, yeah, that's how I was meaning to bring up. But hey, you beat me too. Yeah, you definitely. It's amazing how you go by the first name and it kind of changes the perspective of how the tension is during a scene in a movie. It's amazing how that does that. I love that. And also, Shinosky, I was meaning to cover this earlier, so thank you because I had forgotten all about that. Says Madonna sent Quinn because she saw the movie. It said she signed a thing. I think it was an album or something for him saying it's about love, not big dicks. Well, Madonna.
Pretty sure she thinks they're the same thing anyway. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Especially now.
And by the way,
especially now.
One of the reasons I became an agnostic, Nick, is because God took the wrong pen.
The pen. Yeah.
He should have left Michael and Christopher and taken Sean.
Brother bought a coconut. He bought it for a dime. His sister had another.
Run, Mr.
So here's what this article says here. It says that looking closely, Eddie died before Mr. White fired at him. Chris Penn once explained that his blood squib went off earlier than planned, forced him to fall to the floor before time. Penn said that Keitel was supposed to shoot Tierney and then him, but the squib on Keitel went right off after shooting Tierney, so he went down before he shot Penn, whose squib went off anyway, so he had to fall too. was bad timing, but Tarantino decided to keep the scene for the sake of people talking about the film. So it'd be the biggest controversy of the film. In the end, nobody shot Nice Guy Eddie, but in the script, it was Mr. White who did it, which completely rules out the option of Mr. Orange shooting Eddie.
He should have said that Chris Penn's had a heart attack.
Oh my god!
From the stress of the standoff. That's why he collapsed before the shot.
I gotta say that Harvey Keitel, on his way down, or whatever the shot was, because I remember watching this twice when we watched this the other night, because Mrs. Redshirt asked the question, who shot Sean Penn's character? And I played it again, and Harvey Keitel is trying. He's
He's
trying
here.
there
Yep.
to sell
See?
that he's shooting.
Yep. He shot him.
Well, he shot. No, he's shooting
into his way.
But he's shooting after. I think.
Yeah,
I
shooting
think it's that the
Yeah,
squib
the
went
squib
off
already
before.
went off.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the magic bullet.
but it's.
Yeah.
But I have to say,
it's the magic
Harvey
bullet.
Oswald.
but
Everybody
I
knows
have
it
to
was
say,
a
I
contract.
think the reason they didn't reshoot it is because at normal speed, it sells. It works.
Yeah,
Because
it
you
works at
literally,
normal speed,
does.
yeah.
it is so quick between the squib and the blank that, quite frankly, it works in the film. If you play it back really slowly, then we can see Sean Penn starts to fall before he gets shot. But
There's only one shot that goes off too. Yeah,
Speaking of Oswald,
he's got the
Oswald
one
was-
shot here.
the cops found Oswald in a cinema, and isn't that where they found Mr. Blue? And you don't see it, but the cops find Mr. Blue hiding in a cinema, same as Oswald. That's a piece of trivia from the story. It's not filmed.
Story.
I'm trying to figure out if you're being serious or what, Brian. I don't know.
Yeah,
You're so
Mr. Blue.
snarky sometimes that
Mr.
I'm
Blue.
like-
We don't see Mr. Blue being shot by the cops, do we?
No.
Apparently, according to Tarantino, his character after the heist hid in a cinema. Well, that's where
Oh,
Lee
shit,
Harvey
so really?
Oswald hid in a cinema and was found there by the cops. Now they didn't shoot him.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the CIA.
That's
but
interesting. So you weren't bullshitting. You were being okay.
Yeah, so there is a kind of a weird similarity there. You don't see it on screen, but according to Tarantino, that's where Mr. Blue was found by the cops after the heist, and then they shot him.
I wonder how Penn felt about his personal jacket getting ruined by that blood.
Well, he could easily go down to Kmart and get another one. I mean,
I'm sure.
Dude, this is when Kmart was hot. So yeah, he could easily got one.
Kmart was never hot.
Dude, yeah, they had
Members
a
only.
super
Members
Kmart.
only.
That's how huge Kmart
It
was.
was
back
hot
then.
when the air
They had a
conditioning didn't
super
work.
Kmart.
Well, they did have the ship your pants campaign, which was fucking hysterical.
Layaway,
Ship your
bro.
pants. I remember that.
It was layaway.
Everybody
They
remember
had
Blue Light
layaway.
Special? If you ever shop
No.
the Kmart, you know that one. Blue Light Special.
Blue Light
Yeah.
Special.
I just know
attention,
that
Kmart shoppers.
Before you buy clothing, use a blue light
This is-
on it to check what's been done with it before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, run it under the blue light. See if you see anything.
I was 9 years old running around at Kmart, at Super
that one didn't
Kmart
work.
to be specific. I was being a 9-year-old running around, and then I fall on the ground and I look up, and it's Scottie Pippen from the Chicago Bulls because I bumped into his leg. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's just like, "I gotta get ready for it." He's like, "I gotta get ready for a game tonight," because the Super Kmart by my area was 15 minutes away from the United Center where the Chicago Bulls played. This is when they were 72
You didn't
and
meet
10
no
in
Scottie
1996. He's a nice guy.
That's what you're supposed to say. Yes, I did. Fuck you, and fuck you. Whose name?
Yeah, this is the scene I'm talking about where it reminds me a little bit of the end of War of the Roses, where they're both dying. They're laying there, and I love you, man. I love you too. Oh,
This
you're a
seems really
fucking cop. I'm gonna
romantic.
kill you.
It's really
No,
romantic. It's a really sweet
that
setting.
story makes my Rick Smits encounter at Meyer seem really sad and pathetic, but whatever. No one's counting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing like two grown men's crotches touching.
Dude, it's all about crotch touching.
And why the heck does he tell him, Mr. Blunt? I guess he just tells him. I mean, I don't know if he would have probably would have died anyway, but he tells him he's a cop. It's like, come on.
Remember you killed all those guys because I wasn't a cop? I am a cop.
Yeah.
And he's Mr. White's just like, oh fuck. He's just like, I was just accusing these dudes of being emotional, and now here I was falling for this shit. You want to talk about the ultimate? You got fucking played, and you can see that look on his face. He's hurting, but he's pissed. He's fucking pissed.
The ultimate betrayal, because now he knows they won't be able to become lovers in prison.
I know. They could have gotten each other roses. They could have dropped some soap together. There's so many missed opportunities in open fields for so many openings that they'll never get to share with each other. And then the credits had to happen.
But the lime and the coconut.
We'll never get to know where the openings were. That's tragic.
I think one of them was in his gut.
You sure?
He got gut shot.
Neither of them was going to live.
No.
I think the only one who survived. I think the only one who survived was
Pink.
Buscemi's character, Mr. Pink.
And I remember when I first saw this, I initially thought when he was gonna walk out of the building, I thought they were gonna show the camera to where he walked outside, a bunch of cop cars pull up, and they either shoot him or he tries to get away, and like maybe he gets away, and it turns out you just hear him get away and you see everything go on inside the warehouse. I didn't expect them to stick with the inside of the warehouse where you still get to hear some of the background noise. I thought he was gonna get out and you were gonna see something happen with him, but nope.
He probably did get arrested if they were watching the building waiting for Joe to come in. They saw Joe coming in, so they were right there. They probably would have got Mr. Pink anyway.
I thought Pink that's what I perceived of it, is that Pink got away before they arrived.
He went out the Gary and got away.
Someone was saying they heard in the audio. I didn't catch it. That you and your backdoor jokes. That he said, Mr. Pink says I surrender, but I couldn't hear that in the.
Just
the
so
audio,
you know, that's not my joke. That is Paulie's. Paulie started that shit. And nobody will let it die.
Why would we let the backdoor go?
Yep.
No, for real. Why would we let the backdoor go?
Oh, look. I don't know how hard you cling onto a backdoor, but I say we cling on for dear life because you never know where that's going to go. There's a movie that I don't know if you guys have ever seen, but if you like old stuff from the 80s that were low budget, my first experience of seeing Buscemi was because of my association with Bruce Campbell and Josh Becker. And I got to see this little movie from '86 called Filmhouse Fever, where he was one of the two main characters who go to a movie theater to watch trailers and clips from other movies, which includes some classic Josh Becker and Sam Raimi movies.
Mm-hmm.
And 1986, dude. And it was like, he was nobody when he did that. He was like just coming up, just starting.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. Filmhouse Fever. It's a real film.
You heard it here, folks. 55 plus it here in the chat. Listen to the backdoor.
Yeah, right? Buddy. I also put the link in the private chat for it.
That makes sense that you are Mr. Brown. Now I think about it, backdoor. And
that's what the whole thing was about. You're just figuring it out at the end of the movie. That's why I chose.
Hey, I've been focusing on hosting, chatting, thinking, and I just pieced together your Brown and the backdoor.
Backdoor, yeah, there you go.
And my violin.
That looked like he was playing the booger there.
That's too quick. That's too quick. Yeah, gotta loop that one. Yeah. That's it. Here we go.
I got a booger. I got a booger.
Pick, roll, and flick.
That's just nasty.
Trying to get pizza grease off his fingers.
I like all the different comments on what happened to Steve Buscemi. There's so many different perceptions on. Some people did say there were things that happened in the movie, but all the times I see,
I know what happened to him. He went to a nearby restaurant, and when he didn't tip the waitress, she shot him.
It was a it was Amanda Plummer from Pulp Fiction took him out.
I know it's Terry
Yeah,
Gilliam
well, wait,
gets
I have a question because I actually have gone back and forth over his character after he walks out the door. Did anybody else have to read a short story called "The Lady or the Tiger" in school?
No.
Okay, it's about a guy who's been condemned. He's in an arena. On the wall of the arena are two doors. He's told behind one of those doors is a beautiful concubine, and you can live with her for the rest of your life. Behind the other door is a tiger that hasn't been fed in a week. Choose the door. And that's it. That's the end of the short story. Choose a door. It stops. And you don't get told which door he opened. That to me is the ending with Buscemi. Did he choose the door with the lady? Right? Did he choose the door with the lady or choose the door with the tiger?
Isn't that a follow-up, Richard, to Tiger in the Bed by Claude Balls?
Been better off with the tiger.
Claude Balls.
Yes.
All right. This may be a Tom or a Gerry question. Maybe I don't got an answer to this one. Mr. Bryant says, "How did Quentin Tarantino put up with Lawrence Tierney?" I don't know.
I heard rumors because Josh, the first person to ever interview Tarantino was Josh Becker for Film Threat magazine, and a lot of the things that were discussed apparently was that they worked as quickly as possible to get him the fuck out of there, because once they realized that they were dealing with someone that was on the edge of insanity, the less he was around, the better. And so that was one of the things I heard through the interview with Film Threat. It didn't end up in the print, but that was what Josh had relayed to me.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Blu-ray or what Mr. Xenon said. Anyone hear that? I didn't have a volume turned way up, but
no, he says I like what he says here, so I'm going to go back. I've got it opened up on my other screen. I'm going to listen to that scene and turn it all the way up to see if I hear anything, because I've never heard that he says, "You shot me already, God damn it," or something like that after he goes.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I mean, I've been around this movie on and off for what?
You would think it would
decades.
You'd think it would show up in the subtitles.
Yeah, it'd be subtitles. Also, that's a very distinct voice too. Like I know Buscemi's voice, like anywhere. If I'm anywhere, I know that voice. His voice stands out in a crowd.
Absolutely.
And it just, I would like to trust me. I want to believe that that's true. I want to believe that.
As far as Tarantino and Buscemi have ever talked about it, they live. In fact, Buscemi is one of the people who perpetrated the rumor that what's in the case in Pulp Fiction is the diamonds.
Oh,
yeah. So that's how they got there, was via Mr. Pink. Yeah. And again, notice how
that'd be cool.
All those guys dress the same as the Reservoir Dogs guys.
Yeah,
too.
right.
So,
They do dress the same way.
Yep.
That'd be wild, wild, right? To have those universes connect. God.
Well, they already do. They already connect. The brothers of the
Vega,
the Vega brothers. Yeah,
Vega brothers. Yeah. So that would make sense. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
It's a good conversation, definitely to entertain.
Tarantino has pretty much said, "What do you?" His favorite answer is to the question is, "What do you think is in the case?" Because that is what he always wanted. He just wanted people to put in there whatever they thought.
Yeah. Don't answer.
Respect that. I can respect that. I mean, we were talking a little bit about that earlier on Mead with RMB when about how to think and give you something to think about. So obviously it's in different context here, not talking about message, but it's about leaving an idea of mystery and what is, what isn't. So it's nice when movies left you a little sliver of mystery.
He likes to hear other people's theories.
Yeah, I think that's awesome too. I'm
like
with
the most famous ones, of course,
that.
is it's the diamonds from Reservoir Dogs. The other most famous one is, aside from it being a piece of alien tech because it glows. The other one is that it's the soul of Wallace. Because if you see the movie, the first time we see him, he's got a Band-Aid on the back of his head. And the theory goes is that he sold the soul to the devil and had somebody kill the devil and bring it back to him. And that's how the devil got his soul out, was through the back of his head. So that's why he has the Band-Aid. So yeah, it's this huge like internet conspiracy that's been going on for years. But that's what's
I just
actually in the
replayed
case.
it, by the way, guys, and I can't hear that.
Soul. Yeah, I don't hear it either. So it's Marcus.
I was actually hoping you would hear something, Gerry.
I was too. I turned it. I've got a booster on the audio, and I can turn it up 520% the audio.
Shinoski DM'd you, Gerry. So I don't know if he's got it. Shinoski here. You've got DM, so maybe he's got some.
Yeah, I
info
don't keep Twitter open. I'll check it as soon as the show's over because it interferes with my microphone. Twitter and Facebook.
Okay.
All right. So we're through the movie already. We're back around.
Yeah, we flew through. Yeah.
Well, it's a quick movie. It's only like 92 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the next, no, it's around. I mean, if you want to get technical with it, besides
maybe it is a little bit
it's like an
longer,
hour,
right.
and before the after credits, it's like an hour and 36, hour and 37, and then it's like 3 minutes of credits. So it's really quick with the credits, but so it's like it rounds out to like hour and 40 overall. So yeah, but still, absolutely phenomenal movie, and I'm still all about Mr. Orange and may I say second for me, Mr. Pink comes in second because, yeah, he's a guy that makes it happen. He's a dick, but he makes it happen. I thought he is freaking phenomenal and absolutely. The bitch line was amazing, and of course, the dialogue between Joe and Pink was probably one of my favorite scenes, like freaking ever. Just because you see adults, grown adults, who are supposed to be all like manliest men preparing for a gangster style mission, and they're bitching about colors. Well, obviously, mostly Buscemi. For me, that scene was just one of the scenes, and this movie is notorious not just for violence, but for a torture scene and for the tipping scene as well. This movie became notorious for
everyone. Thank you.
So many different things.
Thank you for everyone who tipped Nick Weiser tonight and didn't act like Mr. Pink, and don't feel like please feel like you can. It's okay to tip. It's okay to tip, Nick. But,
and by the way, I'm going to let everybody know that Dustin actually tried to go by one in the pink tonight instead of just Mr. Pink.
And I will say, okay, yeah, he's definitely phenomenal as well. I mean, you see all the emotion pour out. He's awesome. And the fact that you really do feel from that. He really wanted, to Orange to be one of the good guys, only to find out not. It's that's a mind fuck. So yes. Anyways, guys, hey, so can I count
Mr.
that?
Pink does his super chat.
You can. No, he probably does it. But I still love his performance in the movie. I still love it.
The kind of guy you don't want to get in a fight with either, right? Yeah, he's heavily armed.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Don't you go near that back door. But yes, guys, as per usual, we almost 60 of you here who have stuck around the majority of the time. Holy shit, that's awesome. Thank you guys. You know how this goes now. Do the scores. I saw a few new faces in the chat. Welcome, by the way. Show them how it's done with the toxicity and greatness scores. And we'll let our panel do their scoring and such. You know what? I'll start off with Red Shirt because I don't think I've ever started with Red Shirt first. So Red Shirt, be our Red Shirt and start.
All right. I'm just going to start this off. I have a general problem with Tarantino. And it is that he loves to make movies about despicable people. And I don't like watching stories about people that I want to see die before the film ends, preferably early on. So my favorite Tarantino film is Kill Bill because the main character has a good reason to want everybody else dead. I was sold on her character at the very beginning of the first movie, and it never changed. So I could root for her. I wanted to see how she got on. I wanted her to take out all these other people because I hated them. This movie, nobody good. There's only one good person in this movie, truly. That's the cop who gets tortured, his ear cut off. The undercover cop's just is incompetent, and he fucks up by the numbers. So I mean, just about everybody except basically everybody but Steve Buscemi's character, Mr. Pink, dies. At least Mr. Pink is the one who's trying to be. Look, all we came to do was steal some stuff, not murder a whole shitload of people. So, in that respect, it has a reasonable. To me, but I'm grasping at straws with that for this movie. Now, on the plus side, the casting is amazing. These guys played these parts beautifully. They sold these characters. I just hate the characters. That's the problem. You tell the great story about people I don't ever want to meet, ever. And so I would say this is a very, very well done movie. This is at least 8.5 for me in greatness. I just don't ever want to see it again. I never want to see any of these people again. And for toxicity, this is going to be a 10 because this movie, I watched this through a wince most of the way. I did not need any of the violence in this movie to understand how evil and psychotic and crazy all of these people are. That was obvious to me without ever having seen any of the violence. So I will watch Last House on the Left again.
Oh,
but I won't watch this.
Or The Virgin Spring, which it's based on, with Max von Sydow.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Okay.
Got to see it. It's a classic. Ingmar Bergman directed it.
So it's 18 hours long in black and white, and
with a lot
and there are a lot of
staring
discussions
at one another.
Somebody's pretending to be deaf.
Yeah, and a lot of discussions
Max
of
von Sydow's in it somewhere.
That's right. Yeah,
right.
Playing chess.
So, are you saying you didn't really like the movie overall, Red Shirt? I mean,
yes.
You're obviously giving it respect, but is this like one of the first times you didn't really care for it? Because is this your first viewing of this film, or is this something you've seen before?
It's the first time I've ever seen it, and cool. I've only seen 2. This is my third Tarantino movie to watch, because generally generally if I just read the synopsis of the movie, I go, nah. I've seen The Hateful Eight, and the first one I saw was Kill Bill 1 and 2. I like Kill Bill 1 and 2. The Hateful Eight has a great twist in it, but now that I know the twist, I don't need to watch it again.
Well, it's funny you say that, because this and Hateful Eight have the most in common. But yeah, this is probably the most mean-spirited. Not mean-spirited, that's not the word I'm looking for. The darkest of all the Tarantino movies, so I can understand that, I guess.
Yeah. I'll give you my number one movie I wish I had never seen and will never watch again. And it is Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, the Hong Kong
and that's
film.
a screwed up movie. That's a really screwed up movie. Yep.
Yeah, see, I can see where you're not really like Tarantino's just not in your wheelhouse, really. Yeah,
no,
I can totally understand
really.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely not everybody's cup of tea.
So yeah, I mean, it's because of the way I approach movies and stories. Is I want to find a character to follow through it. I don't want to be the character. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for representation. I always feel like I'm the camera in a movie. That's me standing there watching. But in this movie, I didn't want to be anywhere near any of the scenes of this movie. That's the kind of the way I feel. It's like, let me out of here. So no, I'm not a big fan of this movie, not because it's not a good movie. It is. It's just telling a story I didn't want to know about. That's my problem with it. And that your mileage may vary. I mean, right. That's entirely up to you. But it's really well done.
Yeah.
So that's my call.
Well, the film is inspired by the classic French New Wave that started in the 50s of going ultra to the point where it's unbelievable, but ultra realistic and graphic with the language and action. Give you that handheld feel too. That got started in the 50s. So it really does follow that.
Well,
and
Tarantino's a huge fan of 70s cinema, right? Like that's where he lives and thrives and survives.
Oh yeah, and the 70s is when we started doing what the French did 20 years earlier.
Right, and a lot of those films are not happy endings. You don't always have, heroic characters.
What was that De Palma film with Keitel? something streets, Mean Streets.
Means
that was
Scorsese.
absolutely
That's
a
Scorsese.
French New Wave film made in
Yeah,
America.
that's Scorsese. But yeah, that's the thing is
Scorsese,
Tarantino
that's
comes
right.
from that school anyway. So
Chinatown.
Yeah, Chinatown.
Chinatown's
that kind of
another one,
stuff.
exactly.
So if you're not into that sort of thing, then yeah, you're probably not going to dig on
Cinema
Tarantino.
verite.
Now post Kill Bill, if you're into like kung fu films and a little bit of like Hong Kong cinema and anime and westerns, like then you can kind of get more into his stuff because he has two eras to his movies. He's got his first era, which is more or less revenge films, because he was a huge fan of the revenge-matic films out of the 70s.
Right.
So there's always this revenge element through the first half of his films, up through Kill Bill, which is clearly the ultimate revenge-matic film.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after that, he's starting to make westerns and fables, right? Like, so like you have his westerns, and then his fables would be like Inglourious Bastards, which is, you know, a takeoff on a lot of the Dirty Dozen type movies of the 70s, right? And
he
then
made
you
that?
yeah.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be, Tom, it was supposed to originally be a remake of the 70s movie by the same title. But he ended up just coming up with his own idea.
Yeah, and so like he was inspired by that kind of stuff, and then you
Okay.
had, and then Django Unchained, of course, was, you know, a Western inspired. Same thing with Hateful Eight. Then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is probably one of his most unique movies yet, because it's one of those fables, but it's also a bromance movie. So it's really kind of different from everything else he had done before. So it's like he has different kind of eras to his filmmaking. So I could see, like, you probably enjoy Jackie Brown more than you.
Well,
would the
that's
rest
what
of
I
these
was
kind
going
of
to
films.
say when it was
'Cause
my.
that's more of a lighter tone.
I was going to say the red
that
shirt.
era,
Straight crime type
Jackie
film, yeah.
Brown is, if you like good characters, it has two of the best good characters you'll get in any.
Yeah, you're
Tarantino.
rooting for
Pam
Jackie.
Grier
and,
Yeah, because
and
it's
Robert
kind of a
Forster.
love story, too.
Sorry, Pam Grier and Robert Forster.
yes.
They are wonderful people. So you'd be completely
And they got
different
great
experience.
chemistry
Yeah.
in the movie too.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd love it, Red Shirt. You would love that
I'll
movie.
look-
It's my favorite Tarantino. I'll say that.
I will definitely look that one up.
Yeah, Jackie
Thank you.
Brown.
Watch
Beautiful
it.
movie.
Well,
Beautiful
do you know
movie.
Elmore Leonard at all?
I've never met
Yeah.
the man, but I do know.
Well,
who
no,
he is.
but I was saying, do you know of his book? Because basically, it's Rum Punch. It is Elmore Leonard's Rum Punch.
It
He
is,
bought the rights.
yes,
It's
yeah.
one of the only Tarantino movies where he did not write the original story.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful love story.
And
With-
it actually has a connection to Out of Sight, which I can't remember the guy who directed it, but if you ever seen Out of Sight, the character that Jennifer Lopez is dating, the Michael Keaton character, that's the same character in Jackie Brown that Michael Keaton's playing. So there is a connection there too, which is weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tom, Elmore Leonard is one of the few novelists that I have collected almost all of his books. I love his writing.
Well, and of course, Out of Sight is an Elmore Leonard story as well.
Yep.
So, like, that's why the same character is in him. But
We know what Tarantino's last movie is going to be about. Is that leaked at all? Because I
that
heard
movie
he
critic
finished
one,
work-
yeah.
It's a movie about YouTube streamers.
But he's also going to be doing some. He's going to still be directing some TV, and he had said he's got another Netflix TV series kind of thing he's working on. Plus, he had
I heard he
teased-
kept saying this is his last movie. I guess
movie, yeah. But see, he'd also teased doing Bounty Law, like as a few episodes with Leonardo DiCaprio, like doing actual episodes from. Because there was a show, for those who haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Leonardo DiCaprio is playing a character that's kind of an amalgam of Steve McQueen, Burt Reynolds, and Clint Eastwood. So he has this show called Bounty Law. It's like an old black and white
Okay.
Western. So what Tarantino wants to do, because
Show
you see
within a
like
show, yeah.
yeah, so like there's bits and pieces in the movie. What he wants to do is actually flesh out the entire show as like an eight show season. So like, and actually do it as the show. So that would be kind of neat
That'd be
to
cool.
see.
But do you
he's
think
got this
Tarantino
other
would
secret
really
project,
retire?
too.
I mean, it's like Cher's still doing her farewell tour. It's like, he's not going to do it. I mean, Clint Eastwood finally, Clint, God bless him, is 90, 91. He said this is his last
I think
movie.
he's
but
planning his last movie now. Yeah.
Yeah, but Tarantino, it's like you really never go the rest of your life without directing another movie.
He says he
That's
doesn't
sad.
want to. He says he doesn't want to turn into the director that's still grasping to be relevant. So
I
can
get that
understand
part. I understand
and he's going to
it.
keep writing. And I this is my bet is in a couple of years from now, because he's got kids now. Once his kids get old enough to be in like junior high school, and they don't have time for dad anymore, he's going to get bored.
Yeah, and then he'll come back, right? Yeah.
All dads know what I'm fucking talking about. And at that moment, he's going to be like, you know what? I've got a movie in me, especially if
That's
it's
why I'm
something
doing
that's
YouTube
inspired
now.
by,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, especially that's inspired by fatherhood. So don't be surprised if, like, yeah, he'll do his 10th movie, and then 5-10 years down the road, he'll be like, you know, I got one more in me, and it's, you know, a more personal film.
He'll come out of retirement.
Yeah, but he plans on doing television and some other things in the meantime. He says he's really fallen in love with writing. Like, I've loved his book Cinema Speculation. I hope he turns that into a series, actually. That'd be great. Because he just kind of goes through some of his favorite films and while also bouncing it off his own personal life stories at the same time. So it's really kind of cool to kind of.
He's an interesting guy. I mean, he's got a lot to offer. So it's you know,
well, he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of cinema. It's just crazy because he's been going to see these movies since he was a little kid.
And that's one thing I do want to say is when you watch a Tarantino film, you're watching a movie by a guy who loves cinema.
That's so.
And that's why
well, and he
I don't
thinks
mind
about every
the
little thing, right? The detail is in there, right? That's the whole point.
Imagine that director being an actual director. Lost art form.
Paying attention to your craft. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry you didn't like it as much, Red Shirt. I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know we had a first-time viewer on the panel until now. My bad.
No, we had a virgin.
Right. Yeah,
a virgin.
It shows you once again. We're not an echo chamber, whether it's the water worlds of the world, or even the Reservoir Dogs. So no, it's all fun. It's good. We keep it real. We try to, if we all agree, we try to at least understand the viewpoint, because sometimes you gotta listen to understand, not just listen to reply. Words of wisdom from Nick. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Gerry. They're okay.
Gerry.
Yeah. Oh, are you calling on me to be next?
Calling on you.
Oh, okay. You know, look, one thing I will always compliment is his dialogue. And so when it comes to the writing of this film, Quentin Tarantino gets an absolute 10 for the dialogue in this film. But I give him a 10 on almost everything he writes when it comes to dialogue. Casting in this gets a 10. This is for what he had as a budget and what they had to go through to make this film. I'm surprised he kept these actors, especially with Tierney. You know, because that guy's like a nut job. And I'm sure a lot of them just wanted to get the hell out of there. Keitel, I think, is probably one of the few actors I heard that was not scared of Tierney. But that's because he was a Vietnam veteran Marine that had seen combat. And not much scares Keitel. But my one beef, I give a 0 to the heist because you never see it. I've always been irritated that we didn't get to see the heist. My overall score for the film is a 9 as far as his films go, because some like what was the last one called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I absolutely give that a 10. It's one of my favorite films he ever made. Because he has a problem with his breakdowns of the acts, the way he writes them. Act 1 is usually good. Act 2 is meanders all over the place. Then Act 3, some narration begins it that comes out of nowhere. Everything was right in that film. That version worked. I agree with Red Shirt on the fact that there's no characters in here that are likable in the end. When you really look at it, these are all, even the cops, detestable. You know, and
probably the closest is Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi,
really, if you think about it,
he's the funniest,
he's like the tamest of all of them, really, if you think about it.
Tamest that's how I'd say it. It's not like he's likable, but they're all enjoyable at some point or another. Even at the craziest that Mr. Blonde is, you're still glued to the screen watching him. And so no matter how detestable they are, you can't take your eyes off the screen. So I still give it a good score on that one. But when it comes down to it for the toxicity, this thing gets a fucking 10. Because the only 2 women in this film gets fucked over for a tip, and the other one is murdered, shot in the face. Absolutely mad. Martigan should have been here for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
So that's funny. We didn't actually need to use any Mad Martigans to cover anything up in this movie, though.
No. Yeah, because there's no women really in it.
There's no women in it.
There's just sort of side characters.
Tarantino has never had nudity in his films, ever. The closest was Django Unchained, and even there, I don't think we saw any actual.
He had even though he's not the director of it, there is in the vampire film.
And well, that was Robert Rodriguez, and Robert
That's
Rodriguez
Rodriguez.
had no problem showing titties.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I'm friends with a couple of people who worked with Rodriguez, and they're definitely in the Me Too type of group, and they would tell me all kinds of things about him, and I would hear these things, and I'd be shaking my head, oh, that's awful. But in the back of my mind, I'm going, I want to fucking hang out with that guy.
Rodriguez? Oh, fuck yeah. And Tarantino.
Fucking Rodriguez is a womanizer, dude. And they were like,
I
would
put
got to
it
bed with
past
you.
them.
Oh, that's just awful. That's awful. I want to hang out with him.
Since we're going to a deep dive of that, this is real interesting that I had found before, but just the way this movie got made. I don't know if we talked about it a little bit, but Tarantino was working at Video Archives, a video store, and he was going to make the movie for, like Tom had mentioned, for $30,000.
Well, you know where he got the $30,000 from?
Where did he get it?
From selling his scripts.
Oh, selling his scripts. Okay, yep.
Yeah, from selling
True Romance,
Romance,
Okay.
and Natural Born Killers. Yep.
So then he gave the Bender. I guess he's working with Lawrence Bender, who's an actor, and he was going to get. So he gave producer. So he gave the script to his acting teacher, whose wife gave the script to Harvey Keitel.
Yep.
So imagine that. And then Keitel signed was co-producer, and then they went to work, and I guess they actually.
I think he
Clooney
saw a
read
little
for a
Martin
part.
Scorsese in him. I think
so he saw the talent there. But just sometimes it's just those little things in life that that was his big huge break, and it's an independent film, so just amazing.
Even Tarantino gave The Killing. Did you see that there? There you go, Gary. He gave it credit for reference.
Oh, he did.
Oh yeah.
I've said this for years that The Killing was obviously, and it's.
He's not above giving any kind of credit to anything he gets inspiration.
If you've never seen this,
it's
one of my
think of it as
favorite
Mike
Kubrick films.
Well, there you go. They're taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. That's what I thought. There you go.
That's in there too. It makes sense with the names. You got it, Tom. You're right.
City of Fire was an influence too.
Yep.
And then what was the other thing that they yes. Oh, and it was filmed in a mortuary, right? Like you said, the funeral equipment. Yep. And the building's since been demolished. And they decided not to film the robbery for budgetary reasons and to keep it ambiguous. Yeah, and not showing the robbery and having the characters describe it. The film was allowed to be about other things, similar to the way the robbery in Glengarry, Glen Ross, and this film adaptation is discussed, described, and debated, but never shown.
Right.
So it's just really creative, because it works not showing that stuff too, even though normally you'd say, oh, we got to film that, we got to show it, but I think that works in this movie. So and Tarantino being a film buff, obviously, film nerd, just has seen all these movies. I can imagine all the times he spent just watching movies and studying movies. So it's it says he denied that he plagiarized Reservoir Dogs, said he does homages. And I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember him talking about City of Fire, because that's the thing. He's like, because he says, like, I'm so pissed off when people say I rip shit off, okay? It's like, I took one scene, okay? I took one scene out of this movie, and I took one
warehouse scene at the end.
He's like, I took this scene out of there. It's like, it's not just, if I'm going to rip off a movie, okay, I'll just remake a movie. Like,
when I was in film school, one of our professors said something that's really important. It's only homage when the average viewer is completely unaware of it. But when you become aware of it while watching it, that it is clearly something, it ceases being an homage and being a straight across. I hate using the word, but that's what it is, rip-off. But in this case, I think that there's an homage within the ripping off. That the homage is by ripping off, showing how good that is, that I'm going to use it in this context.
Can I put it
show
this
you
way,
how
Gary?
cool it would be?
It's kind of like a really, really good DJ who, although you can tell,
you said DJ.
Yeah, DJ. Like when, like for a rapper.
Not BJ.
Not BJ, yes. I know where your mind is going back.
Come on, Gary.
But like a
really
DJ
good
where
DJ,
they can mix a couple of different songs together where you clearly know what they're mixing.
That's excellent. Excellent
and
comparison.
He's really good at doing that. It's like he wants to invoke that thing.
He wants you to see that. Exactly. And I think that's where it works. And I used to be really critical of it when I was in film school. But once I got out of film school, I started looking at what he was doing. I'm like, he's drawn an interest now into that cinema, that style of filmmaking.
Oh, he
and people go
almost
back and watch
single-handedly
that
brought
stuff
a lot of Hong
because
Kong
of him.
cinema over. Yeah. Like just alone of the stuff that he brought over, because he would do Quentin Tarantino Presents.
Oh, yeah.
And he would do all kinds of showings and stuff. Like he
And
would
what was
show
that
all
thing he
these
did
movies.
where they shot at his old video store?
Oh, it's on YouTube somewhere. But I know
'Cause
what
I
you're
remember he
talking
did
about,
a documentary type thing where they went to the old video store he worked at, him and his partner. And his
Video
partner just
archives,
faded
yeah.
into the darkness. Nobody remembers him. The guy that wrote Pulp Fiction with him. You know who I'm talking about, right? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either, but yeah.
Nobody remembers him.
No.
He
Nope.
shared in that
Anyway.
Oscar. And nobody remembers him.
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah?
Gary. I didn't mean to get in there, but yeah, what's your scores for this then? Other than you got your toxicity and what's left?
Oh, we're still doing scores? Just kidding.
I'm
Oh,
done with
yeah,
mine.
yeah.
I gave mine.
Yeah.
I'm done.
All right. Well, Mark, you're up next.
I'm up. Okay, I'll tee off. Yep. No, I mean I love this movie, but I hate this movie. Like I said, I kind of like Red Shirt. I would never watch it again because the characters are all despicable. It's not like, oh, I'm in the mood, let's pop in Reservoir Dogs kind of thing where you know
There's nobody to root for.
there's no one to root for. So it's incredibly well done. They're all toxic as fuck in this movie. Other than the cop, obviously, and it's just that the scene that it's showing again. It's just a sick scene. Not that it's not well done, but it's just it's not something you need to. I can see where people love this movie, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but just not the kind of movie I say, oh, I gotta watch this again. But I can appreciate it. So I'd give still give it an A. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It's an A movie. The dialogue's great. You get into these characters, you know them really well, but it's not it's and cinema had switched in the maybe the late 60s 70s where you wouldn't before Hollywood you had to have a good guy that got punish the bad guy. The bad guy can never get away with it. And maybe in this movie, Steve Buscemi's character, maybe Mr. Pink does get away with the diamonds, or I think he does, but or that's you're left open ended there. But that's great writing too, because we're still debating about what happened in this movie. How many times has everyone seen it? So 10 for toxicity. But I'm gonna say probably I don't think I'm gonna ever watch this movie again. But that doesn't mean that it's not a great movie. But Tarantino's fantastic. Yeah, I'm looking forward to his next film, whatever else he
I
does.
will be watching that.
Yeah.
Will.
It's probably
Right.
it's so good that's why you don't want to watch it. It's so realistic in some ways. That's why you believe these characters so much. That's why look at the face on the the cop here. It's like you feel that he knows what's going to happen. I mean, it's just so well. It's so well
You
done.
feel the end for him.
Yeah. So, all right, who's teeing up next?
Tom is.
Oh wow. Well, what can I say? I mean, this film gets 10 out of 10, period. I mean, it's a perfect film to me. I understand where people are coming from as far as like having a hard time with it. But it's one of those movies I can watch again and again and again. And I've seen a million times already. It's that first album from that band that you love so much. It's rough, but you see the what's going to be from it. You can hear those notes that they're going to play later down the road in a much more dramatic way, but you start to see them emerge here. It's really great for that. As far as toxicity goes, yeah, I mean, there's literally no female speaking roles in the movie, and like pointed out that both females get screwed over pretty harshly that are in the film, really. I mean, there's a little bit of all kinds of racism and everything else here and there, a little bit.
I clipped all those out carefully. I was
gonna say there's plenty of little things here.
There's a bunch of dialogue that did not show up in the clipping.
Plenty of dialogue, that could be perceived in that way, and it gets like 10 years out of 10. And a handy Randy while we're at it for Mad since he's not here. No, I love this movie. I'm glad we finally got to talk about it on Toxic Tuesday.
Me too. And Tom, that was a perfect analogy. Seriously, that was fucking awesome, by the way. And 70s.
Okay, first of all, Quentin Tarantino is a big fat liar. Because I don't recall seeing a single reservoir or dog in this entire movie.
I was waiting for the dogs.
Yeah, where'd the title come
Where
from?
the fuck were the dogs? And was there a reservoir? I didn't.
Do you guys really want to know where the title comes from? Like seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, yeah.
He got it from. There was always this unmade stack of scripts in Hollywood that had various names, and one of the names that was attributed to this stack of scripts was Reservoir Dogs. And what it was referring to is they're all really great scripts fighting for everybody's attention. So it's basically, that's the way he saw it, is these are all, these dogs fighting for the attention, basically.
That's a good one, yeah.
They're all like, especially when you have the quintessential scene that probably gave him the idea to use that as a title is, are you going to bark little doggy, or are you going to bite little doggy, or are you going to bark all day?
There you go.
The whole thing of like, these guys are basically just dogs all kind of on their haunches barking at each other, but not single one of them's made a move yet, kind of thing. So yeah.
So anyway, it's not my favorite Tarantino movie, and unlike Richard, I've seen them all, but that's why Jackie Brown is my favorite, and I definitely want Redshirt to watch that. It's a beautiful movie, absolutely beautiful, even given some of these things that are going on around the two main characters. And I do remember going to see it at the cinema when it came out, though I'd never heard of Tarantino particularly, but it got a lot of buzz just because it was so unique and fresh at the time. And it's an interesting movie. I think like Mark, I would always say, let's slip Reservoir Dogs in, watch it again. I'd rather watch Jackie Brown again or Kill Bill. Or some of the other ones. So it's probably, but it's such an interesting movie, and it's extremely well written and acted, and it does have two of the greatest uses of music with Little Green Bag and Stuck in the Middle with You of any movie period. Never mind any movie of this period. So it is a great movie, especially given the limitations it was made under. I think for terms of scoring it, I'd probably give it 8.5. I mean, it's a fantastic movie. It's not 10 out of 10 for me, but 8.5. But for toxicity, I'd give it 10 out of 10, purely because it's a movie full of straight white men. Well, assumedly straight white men. They never quite make that entirely clear. But there's like one BIPOC and virtually no women. And it's so in today's terms, that's about as toxic as you can get. Plus the torture scenes, of course. So that's my scores. So 10 out of 10 for toxicity.
Dustin.
I don't really have a problem with this movie. Like, this is one of those movies that, I don't necessarily want to watch it all the time, but watching it, I don't hate the characters. I think they're so well done that they don't bother me. I mean, I don't want to see somebody getting their ear cut off in real life, but I mean, I think
Dustin, what are you doing Friday night?
Gonna Van Gogh that dude. But I mean, it's definitely not my favorite Tarantino movie, like 70 said, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen all of his movies except for the 2 Kill Bills, which probably will give me some shit here, but I think it's an amazing movie. I think it really allowed him to be what he wanted to be as a director. So, I mean, I've got to give it like, if not 10, like a 9.8, right? And I think Toxicity, I think it's a 10. I'm sure Mad would probably think this is a 0 because it's just a bunch of dudes hanging out. But
even though
they're just hanging out having a good time, trying to get some diamonds.
Call it a family film, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're just trying to make a living.
The only parts he'd probably have a problem with is the violence against cops. He'd be like, that's a little too much. But
yeah.
Well, he did quit.
He'd probably be like, that guy's a pussy. He deserves it, or something like that.
I think I hope we get a chance to do more Quentin Tarantino flicks in the future. I'd really like to talk about like Django. I think that's a fantastic movie. I love Christoph Waltz. Same thing with Hateful Eight. I think that's another great movie. I mean, even these movies where you're not supposed to like any of the characters, I think he does them in a way that you can kind of walk past that and just be an observer to something you would never ever see in real life. And I think that's a good cinema to me. I want to see something.
It gives you a look at the ugly side of these dudes. For me personally, you just get to see what they're really like when they're it's kind of like a wild animal who's cornered. You see these guys all scrambling and losing their mind. What happens when they're stuck in a position and they have to handle things the way they do? Besides Mr. Pink, everyone is really crazy, really emotional, and everyone's out of whack besides Pink and, to a point, Mr. Blonde, even though I'd say he's crazy too. Just has it more contained than the others.
And that's true. By the way, just notice something. I never caught that before, that he used the split diopter in that shot, that one shot where you see Roth in the background and the cop in the foreground. And you can actually see the line when you look for it. Brian De Palma is probably one of the greatest users.
Right here. Yep. Right there. Right. Right there.
It uses it all. He's actually done a 3 tridiopter or triopter in one film, where you've got 3 people in 3 different positions, all in focus, and you see that blur.
You're
line.
Talking right here. You're talking right here,
yeah.
Gary. Right?
You see the blur line in between, and it's a lens.
Explain that to non-film people. People didn't go to film school.
This is one of those wonderful things that I've always wanted to use and never got to in film school, which is it is a lens that has 2 different focal points, and your DP camera operator focuses, and when you set it on the focus is on one person and the other lens is focused on the other person.
When Gary says DP, he means double penetration, by the way.
And if you're an old fart like me, you know that's called bifocal lenses. Because you need one half to read and one half to drive.
I think I'm older than your red shirt.
I don't think so.
I wear bifocals. But I always love that because De Palma made a career of using that, because Hitchcock used them. And anything Hitchcock did, De Palma copied.
Yeah.
And I love them. I love split diopters used in films.
All right.
It's not easy to set up too, probably. Yeah. Oh, we got this from Magic Poop. So this awesome.
Who said this one?
Magic Poop.
Oh, Magic Poop. Thank you.
I just saw on Twitter.
You got my Medicat in there. Yay.
Oh, let me hide this real quick. Oh, dude, that is amazing.
That's a lot of work. Yeah, it looks awesome.
I also like that he got Mark's Big D in there.
Yeah, nice job. Yeah.
And look, and Gary, you're looking at it.
Yeah, that's right.
I like how skinny they made me look. That's
right.
Cool.
His Big D.
I love it. Oh,
and I love Red Shirts, the little cartoon guy over on the right. Looks like something from South Park. You look like one of those French characters from French
this
Canada.
Is amazing.
Yeah, thanks for making me the psycho.
Thank you very much. All
right, we're all psychos.
I'm gonna blaze through these. Vince Womack, overall 8.8, toxicity 5.4. You can keep this up if you want. It looks
leave it up.
Ryan Barth,
leave it up.
10.10. Union of Amateur Strategists, overall 8.6, toxicity 4.4. Fat Elvis, overall 10, toxicity 7. Bloody Good. Boosh McFadden, overall 7, toxicity 7. Severed ears out of 10. Hot damn. Mr. Zen in 1993, 10 hacked off ears out of 10, toxicity 9 out of 10. There would be 7 if there was a single female character. Ooh, look at that deduction when there's a female character. Darth Viewer, greatness 9, toxicity 5. Making fun of like a virgin at 10. I see what you did there. Yet nominal, toxicity 8 out of 10. No heroes here. Overall 8 out of 10. 0 out of 10 tips. FU Mr. Pink. Action Com, overall 9. Toxicity 8. Mike Snow, overall 9 out of 10. Toxicity 8. Inverse Opinion, 8 greatness, 8 toxicity. Magic Poop, 9 overall, 8.69 for toxicity. Mecha J, toxicity 11 overall, 10. Keely Chow, toxicity and overall 10-10. Deleted scenes overall 9.5 with toxicity 8.5 to 9 ratioed. Brian Bart 10. Well, guys, that is the Reservoir Dogs. And of course, for next week, we will have the greatness of. Sorry, hold up. Minor backtrack. The next 3 weeks of A Death Wish. 1, 2, and 3 for the next 3 weeks. So much Charles Bronson.
Don't make him angry.
Seriously, you're gonna fucking shit. And it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be amazing. So, yes, Death Wish 1, 2, and 3, 3 weeks in a row. It's gonna be amazing. And
huge.
I can't wait.
It's gigantic. Gigantic.
There's a clip you should show that I'm sharing.
Yes, let's show it.
You mentioned Death Wish.
No, it's gonna be great. Chat, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Toxic Tuesday. I saw I got a few new subs. Thank you. Thank you to Super Chatters, Magic Poop from the Memers, and for the new faces. Hopefully you liked what you saw. You come back for more. And yeah, and for those who continue to support the show week after week, seriously, thank you very fucking much. And thank you for being awesome. I know it's like when someone takes a week or two off and yet you all stick around and come back. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'm going to let these gentlemen plug in their plugs. And we're going to head out here and head home. And we're going to let Dustin start off, a.k.a. Mr. Pink.
Keto Simple is my channel. Video food reviews and all that fun shit is what we do. We break down keto snacks and stuff that you see in the store, and we taste test them so you don't have to, because most of them taste like shit. And we try to be funny, give you the real shit, the real deal, all while being family friendly on our channel. So it's nice to come over here and not have to censor myself. But and then if I may, Chandra has her own channel. She's got 4 or 5 videos out now where she talks about reselling and all that fun stuff.
Put in the private chat, and I'll put it in the public chat, and then Eric K can always link it too. Thank you, Eric K, for your wrench duties. So he shows up right in time to wrench it.
He knows when to be here.
He's even left you a super chat.
Oh, we're gonna get to it. We'll get to it.
And I've been helping out Brian on his channel, having a good time talking to some amazing people. So I'll let him go into more detail about that when it comes to him. But yeah, come hang out with us.
All right.
And you and I need to do one on making keto cheesecakes. We really do need to, Dustin.
Ooh, cheesecake. All right.
Sounds like gay porn, keto cheesecake.
Well, eating cheesecake should feel like porn.
If it's made right, it is.
If it's made right, it is.
Yeah. All right, 70s. Go ahead and go.
Well, yeah.
Pull down my link. Pull that down until I get up there, dude.
As Dustin said, lots of fantastic stuff going on that 70s Rock Fan channel and on Pop Culture Minefield. We're doing some great shows. We've had these guys on the Rock and Roll Rowdies. On Monday
what a great show yesterday, dude.
Oh yeah, Mal Craig's tour manager for Genesis, Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, Pink Floyd. We had the footage of him with Phil Collins at Live
I felt
Aid.
like a little kid talking to him.
Unbelievable the stuff this guy's done.
I was lurking that whole time. It was a great show. It was at work. So I didn't, but it was really well done, guys.
So there's this whole series of these, and the next one doing with those guys, because there's multiples of those guys, Rock and Roll Rowdies, is Wilco, who's going to be the guest on again on Pop Culture Minefield Morning Coffee with Brian on Thursday. If somebody wants to share the screen, I'll just show that if they don't mind.
Yep, I'll get it. Yep.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. So that's and check back on my channel for all the rock and pop culture minefield for all the stuff we've done with these guys. They're an absolute gold mine of rock history. They've been there right from the late 60s through with some of the biggest bands and some of the biggest tours in the world. Wilco, on Thursday, I think we're going to talk a little bit about the Cannes and Toronto Film Festival work he did for many years, working with the film studios, setting up stuff there. So, talking of Death Wish, though, Cannon Film Club that I have on that 70s Rock Fan channel, we did a great show on Death Wish about a month ago. So I shared the materials for that with you, Mark and Nick, so you might be able to use some of those. Check that out. But on the reason I want to mention that is next Monday, we're taking a break from the music and we're doing another Cannon Film Club on that 70s Rock Fan channel Monday afternoon. We're going to do the 3 missing in action movies. That's going to be. I've just been watching them all today and clipping stuff from them all today again, and it's going to be so fun. So
huge.
Hoping Tom will be able to join me for that one and some other guests too. So
he's on he's up there, so better not be false advertising.
He does that on purpose.
I do.
Yes,
so he
so
has
to show up.
It was Tom's idea.
It's like he's a Jewish mom or something trying to guilt me into showing up for dinner.
It was Tom's idea to do it in the first place.
It was.
But yeah,
well, Tom's not on YouTube enough, so
no,
he'll probably want to do it.
And of course, he's got nothing to do on Mondays. Mondays, he's got nothing to do.
Yeah,
anyway.
never busy on Mondays.
So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm on 982 subscribers, 982 subscribers on YouTube now. So, and on another show I'd like to plug. Sorry for taking so long, Nick. Is on Saturday nights. Brahma Bull and I do our hockey show with added drinking. Bourbon and boarding, so it's 10 p.m. Mountain Time.
Drinking.
Adding drinking. We have a lot of fun on that show. Shit talking about hockey, showing clips, and it's because it's playoffs time, so there'll be a lot of heated discussion. I'm sure. So check that show out on my YouTube and Brahma's Rumble. We're getting quite a lot of views on this now, so lots of fun. Thank you for indulging me there, Nick.
Oh, we like indulging you. We like indulging you. All right. Gerry.
That's me.
That's
yeah, now you can show it, Mark. You can pull it up.
Now I can show it. All right, there we go.
You'll always find us over on Pop Culture Minefield. And finally, the trigger has been pulled. Tom and I are going to do a twice monthly show called
Took long enough.
This Week, Tom and Jerry Do.
And twice monthly or bi-weekly? Is it bi-weekly or twice monthly?
It's Beverly Hills Cop, man. And you, as we say, this is my backdoor reference for the show. Ain't no bananas up our tailpipes.
Yeah, that's why it's
but you are the banana, Gary.
I'm the banana.
You're the banana.
I'm really
been banana searching for a tailpipe.
And it's just so fun to be breathing some life in, because when Keith, had to step away because of his family, I'm like, what am I going to do with my channel? And now all these things are happening, and I'm feeling happy again about what we do. Because the only thing good on our channel up to the last few weeks has been what Brian does on Thursday.
You're too modest, but we are getting some good stuff, mate. Yeah, we're doing some good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Thank you for putting it on your channel.
Oh man,
Gerry.
Tuesday. I'm not sure. I've not gotten any reports back, but we have retired Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Chief of Police does his own show now on Tuesday. He did Dirty Harry today.
Ooh.
And broke it down. They did a slideshow just like on here, and he talked about that film, what it represented then, and what it represents today. And it was, from what I heard from everybody, it's a really good episode today.
Gerry, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad you opened up to us in more ways than one today.
I've been deflowered by so many of you lovely people.
Gigantic vagina.
What?
Biggest vagina known to man.
You guys have no idea. He's one of my favorite comedians. I love that guy.
I knew that'd get you.
I hope you're here for as much Death Wish as possible.
I'm going to endeavor to be here. You're going on earlier now, like a half hour.
Yes, half hour.
And that's so much better.
We need our beauty sleep.
I'm old and I don't want to stay up too late.
Well, I'm glad it works out for you. That's good. But it's been pleasuring, and I want you
It's
here.
been pleasuring.
Just whatever you do.
Are you going to brag a little?
It might have been a pleasure for you, but not for us.
Now am I bragging about? I'm rubbing it in.
Oh, that's what she did.
Wait a minute. So it's been a pleasure because you've been rubbing it the whole show?
It's a long time.
Is that what he just said? Yeah, you got to be chafing
Yes, he
by
did.
now.
Edging for 2.5 hours.
I should
This is the most fun I can have.
Thank you
that's-
surviving us,
doesn't break a
Mr.
law.
Zenon. It's been, but yes, the door is always open, and it will be.
Actually,
It will, and trust me, we stick the landing here. Believe that. Anyways, Mark.
Well, I'll try to follow that one. Yeah, but always awesome hanging out with you guys. Check out my channel. I do action figures reviews, and here I just dropped the drop.
Did his penis fall out?
He's
His
dropped the
penis
soap.
fell out.
Dropped
Yeah,
the
he's
soap.
broke. Yeah. So my video tomorrow is gonna be on repairing action figures. So
Oh shit!
arrow down. Yeah, but I'll show you how to fix an action figure. He's not all glued, but yeah, he's mostly fixed. Yep, there we go. So here's his leg back on, but that's gonna be my video for tomorrow. But sometimes your action figures, guys will lose a leg, right? Fighting crime. So show you how to
So
fix that.
Is he Lego-less?
He's Legolas.
Right, legless, legless.
Lego-less from
Stephen Amell, yep. He's Legolas. Yeah. So that's a good one. So yeah, check out my channel. I'm also on Sunday Night Geekery. Cover all the news of the week. Talk about food, wherever the heck the chat takes us. So a lot of fun hanging out there. Clobbering Times is always there with me on Sunday night. Dadman Walking and various assorted guests. So come check us out on Sunday night, and Thursday night I'm on the Clubhouse with Clobbering Times and Raquel, and just talking Star Trek and whatever other science fiction nerd geek stuff. So yeah, check out the channel. I'm getting close to 700 subs, so moving on up, getting there. So a lot of fun hanging out with you guys, and yeah, looking forward to Death Wish. And yeah, that's gonna be a fun movie. Yeah, that's not gonna be so politically correct when you watch that movie next week.
You killed my wife and you did terrible things to my daughter.
Prepare to
You're
die.
gonna wish.
It was
You're
a
gonna
man
wish
with
you
a
were
one
dead.
arm.
After you met me, you're gonna have a death wish.
Don't mess with Chuck Bronson. Yep.
So wait
Thanks,
a minute.
everyone.
So if Tom Hardy makes a movie called Bronson, can Charles Bronson make a movie called Hardy? Would that work?
Yeah, I'm Tom Hardy.
Mark, I expect a lot of wonderful clips for next week.
Yeah,
You don't have to actually, unless you really want to, but
yeah, we'll
it's
get
just
some.
that movie's
Yep.
made for clips. This
Yeah.
Death Wish is absolutely made for
I know
them,
y'all
but-
are probably going, what the hell is Tom doing? But that's what Charles Bronson sounds like. Go watch him.
Yeah.
No, that's right. It's been Mark. It's been
really
wonderful.
like this. He gets a, and sometimes
I'm
he
gonna
doesn't
come
move
over
his
there and I'm
mouth.
gonna kill you.
I'm gonna kill you. Yeah, it's like
He always
if
asks.
I were a human being, it was Charles
He
Bronson.
always asks the women that are going to date him if they've got liability insurance and life insurance.
Yes, here's the problem. If you meet me, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You
Don't
get
come
life
close.
insurance?
He's got death
Everybody
insurance.
who's ever
Everybody work on our
known
impressions
Charles
this
Bronson, seen Charles Bronson, kissed Charles Bronson, been friends with
I haven't
Charles
kissed him.
Bronson, they all die.
They breathe the same oxygen.
Of terrible, terrible cancer.
Everybody dies around him. Not a single person is safe. If he walks in the room, the chances of you dying just went up astronomically.
You move to the same city, your chances of
Yes, at least 50% right there.
Could you imagine the real
Charles
estate
Bronson
sales
was the
based on
cause of
that?
Steve McQueen's
They're
death.
within 5 blocks of Charles Bronson.
Oh, that's cold.
Mark, thank you for your work as always. It's been wonderful.
You're
Wait a
welcome. No,
minute,
you're welcome.
Didn't
You're
Neil
welcome.
Brenner die of
I don't
cancer
know, that sort of
too?
sound like he's about to
Yes,
fire
he did.
you.
Yep.
What was
And
that?
Charles Bronson's wife
Yes.
died of cancer.
I
as well,
killed him
unfortunately.
all.
Ireland.
Jill Ireland. Yeah.
I
Red
stole
shirt.
her. He stole her from. Ducky was married to her in real life from.
That's
NCIS.
right, David McCallum.
Yeah, fellow Scotsman. That's
Ilya
right.
Kuryakin. Yes,
Yep.
fellow Scotsman.
He was married to her, and then she left him for Bronson.
And he
then he had to
couldn't
be
say,
nice
what's he
about
going to
it.
say? Because Bronson would just blow him away. I mean, you can't say
Told
that.
him. So he's like all nice about it. It's like, dude, it's okay to be
Bronson
angry.
just would have given him cancer.
With
Bronson
a rocket
probably said
launcher.
something like, "It's okay. I have a bigger dick
Well,
than you."
I don't know. I just saw 3 going for sideways. Usual.
You're cutting out, Red
You're
shirt.
But if you can hear me,
We lost me yet.
I
Now
hope to
we
be
can
back
hear
on
you.
the MFR. Definitely be back here next Tuesday for Death Wish. And thanks as always, Nick, for inviting me. Now,
My
did anybody hear that?
Glad to have you as part of the
Yep.
group.
Yes,
Oh
we
yeah,
we heard
can
it, buddy.
hear it. You're good, man. Thanks for being here, sir. Love having you on. You're always, this is what we do. Toxic Tuesday. Tom.
Now, what did I do?
Tom's got nothing. He doesn't do
I plead the
anything.
fifth.
He pleads the fifth, guys. You heard that. Do you need radio after this? Or
I don't know if I can make it tonight. I'm dead ass
figured in
fucking
case you
tired,
did,
but
send
I
people
might.
out.
You never, ever, ever know. You never know.
Okay.
It is always a plausibility. Right now, though, I think I'm going to try and crash early because we got the morning show tomorrow and all that business. But we'll see.
Any big guests you want to tell anybody about?
This
Mandalorian's
week,
on tonight.
which I won't watch. I don't know if we have anybody special coming on tomorrow offhand. other
Well,
than
I'm
maybe
free.
Paul Chato. Yeah, well,
Oh.
you never know. One of these days something might come up.
Yeah, no.
Because I know we've got a guest coming on though, because Friday we've got what's his face, that short guy we always hang out with. Comics division.
Oh,
Yeah,
Comics
that
is
makes
coming on
sense because
Friday,
of
I think.
Simple Comics.
Simple Comics.
What was that noise?
Hang on.
Which division unite.
There
Simple
we go.
Comics.
And then next week we've got Carrie Smith coming on.
Nice.
So yeah, we've got
cool
some
lady.
guests coming up here.
Nice.
Yeah, so we got the morning show. I'll try to be there for Brian's thing on Monday. And I always tend to show up someplace.
Awesome.
You'll be on.
Expect
Well,
it.
you'll be with me on Saturday.
Maybe in the bathroom.
That's just,
In the
that's not
in the
what
bathroom.
You'll have that echo. Well, sometimes.
If I tap
right.
twice, that means I just need a hand.
Need a hand. Stop.
Where's Handy Randy when you need him?
Right over there in Dustin's hand.
Give a guy a helping hand.
Hold on. No, it's this from Face Off.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone do it now. Come on. So there you go, Bryce. 70s.
Waterfalls.
The Nick Cage.
All right.
We'll do the
Aircade
Nick
for
Cage.
$2. Suggestion for Toxic Tuesday: Bronson, Tom Hardy.
James
And-
Dean, swap the
Yeah.
Love
names.
that movie.
Yes, I know. I see what you did there, Cake. Thank you for the $2. Tom, thank you as always, sir. Glad to hang out with you and hear all the extra insights. I love it, especially where I know we can get Tom Connors Unleashed. I know it's going to be a magical Toxic Tuesday. So yeah, anyways, chat, once again, thank you for supporting Toxic Tuesday. We have the comic shop talk for the comic book fans. We're going to continue our Adam Warlock run this Friday night. And of course, you can find me at Midnight's Edge After Dark. Comics Division, you only have Park Cars Thursday Night Throwdown. I'll have a video out this week called Heavy Metal is Always Diverse. Wait for that one. That's going to be great. And of course, we'll be back here next week for Death Wish. So that's going to be gigantically, massively huge. So until then, guys, we'll play our intro video out. Thank you, seriously. Once again, Wrenches, Legion Memers, Super Chats, Direct Donos. Good night, guys.
I'd like to show you something.
running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm
You have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky?
You're still here? It's over. Go home.